Take a look. It's in a book. It's reading. No, it's the C3 Panthers Podcast, and we've got 23 days till the NFL draft, and we are back to the master debate between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. We've got a linebacker that nobody's heard of, and a lot of NFL news around the league that includes Jack Campbell training with Luke Kuechly. And are the Panthers or the Hurricanes the more successful organization because of their owner? We're going to find all of that out tonight. And I'm going to rock with my mailman. Let's rock.
Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast. Wow.
Hop in the car, Panther fans. We're heading to Indianapolis for the NFL draft. We're here on the longest running Panthers podcast, the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. We want you to get in the conversation. The number's 252-228-5098. We're the people's voice. You're the people. We want to hear your voice. And each and every week, I'm joined by my co-host, my wheelman, Cody Lashney. How are you, my friend?
Tony Dunn, I'm doing wonderful, man. There is nowhere I'd rather be on a Tuesday night than hanging with my boys, talking about my Carolina Panthers, man. And listen, we always have a bunch to talk about. Of course, we're going to continue this never-ending debate between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Maybe there's a new front runner amongst the Panthers front office. We're going to talk about that today. Is Adam Thielen out here looking slow? That's another question that we're going to talk about. And dude, listen, Tony, you already know that we're going to do it with the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube, like we always do. You know them and love them. It's our guy, Andrew Park, Joey the Blind Panther Esquivel, Brian Bowley, Anthony Piccarello. What's up, G? Craig Cartner, Dan Floyd, Diesel Drew, Evan Sports Talk, Hank 3 Rebel, Hemlock, Lynn Leonhart. What's up, Lynn? Matt Volk, Off Grid, Pad 1 Panther, Shane Reed, The Real AP, Underground West, and Tim Estes. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
Don't forget, you can be a C3 super fan by hitting the join button. Just $1.99 a month. You can continue to support the C3 Panthers Podcast and get access to a lot of cool stuff that Cody does with the draft room. And we're going to continue to expand that function, but really it's a way for us to expand the show and continue to grow. And this is how media is going, self-sustaining. We're not journalists. We're not expert football experts, but we're expert football fans. And we've been here for a decade with you, and we're going to keep rocking through the season. I want to remind everybody, 23 days from now, the NFL draft will happen, and we will be having our 10th annual live draft party. Now, watch-alongs are a thing that everybody is comfortable with. They are comfortable with these things. We are cutting edge on the watch-along.
Pioneers, baby.
Yeah, and CK, one of the ways I think you found the C3 Panthers Podcast was through this draft party. I think you were early. Maybe wasn't that one of your first appearances here?
I feel like the first appearance for the draft was going to be Cody Lack over
No,
here.
but like, wasn't that an early appearance for you on the C3 Panthers Podcast, or we just bring you in straight as a co-host?
Joe, it was a little bit after the draft, I believe.
Okay.
It wasn't it was a few months after I think Cody had started to appear regularly, and Joe Riolano was still a very consistent, a participant in the show before he had to step away. But as far as what we got going on, man, I tell you what, I told the boys tonight, I've been watching the Stroud, I've been watching the Young tape. I haven't gotten a chance to look at much Richardson, and I'm just watching the film breakdown of these guys, and it's hard not to get excited about the fact that either of these guys are most likely going to be Carolina Panthers. And I'm sure we have other things we got to talk about, but man, we've got just a matter of 3 weeks for the draft, right? Essentially a little more than 3 weeks. This is all there is to talk about for the next 3 weeks. And I am sorry, Lynn. I know that's not what you want to hear, but we're going to be talking about these quarterbacks nonstop until the end of this month when we finally figure out who we've got. So it'll be fun, man. I'm excited to be here with you fellas.
Well, this is the thing is the number one pick is going to be the blessing and the curse of discussion for this podcast and for all Panther fans. Is like it's hard to talk about anything else. Our friend, our good buddy Tin Tizzy, who's very active on the Discord. Don't forget, great Discord conversation you can be a part of. You can find that link in the description, the show notes, and things like that.
We have one of the most underrated Panther Discord communities there is, dude. It's incredible. The link is in the description. Join the Discord.
He said not enough about number one. He didn't say it like that. He said, when are we talking about? We got to be talking about 39. And I tell you guys, This is the number one pick is a blessing for me because this makes the draft very focused for me. There's none of this. Ugh. You know what is we haven't even thought about anything. This is the draft for Tony Dunn. Is like I just want to think about getting our quarterback, and you know what? Everything else is just going to be gravy. I'll let the picks come to me. But we will be doing a live watch along our 10th annual draft party. Going to be a great time. I know that we're all going to be a part of it. Greg, somebody asked me this: if the Panthers were to make the Super Bowl, not this year, the next time they make the Super Bowl, where would you watch it? He said, would you go and watch it somewhere? Would you watch it at home? And I was thinking about it. My immediate instinct was, I got to watch this at home. I'm going to have to do a post game after, right? Unless we go there or something. And to be honest, I think we would do a watch along.
I'll tell you exactly what I do, Tony. I would go out back and I would get a projector. If the Panthers made the Super Bowl, I would buy a projector. I would go out back and I project it on my shed because I have a pretty big shed. It's about the size of a one-bedroom apartment in my backyard. I'd project it on the side of that. I'd let the goats and the pigs and the chickens out. I'd invite a bunch of people over and I'd start a bonfire. And with animals and people, I just have a party celebrating the Carolina Panthers' first Super Bowl victory.
Oh, well, he's going straight there. If we make it to the Super Bowl,
if we make it, brother, we are winning the goddamn Super Bowl. It's all
Speak it into existence.
Yes. Manifestation. Yes. I love it. Yes. And hey, also, I wanted to give out a real quick plug, We've been doing these film room sessions. You already alluded to it, Tony, on the channel. I've been breaking down Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, and because this is such a big debate, we're going to do multiple film sessions of both Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, really get into the nitty-gritty of what they both do. Right now, the Bryce Young first film session that we did is up live for everyone on YouTube. However, if you would like to see the CJ Stroud one that we did, that'll be up on YouTube for everyone as well. But if you would like to get priority first access to all of the film rooms that we're going to do from now until the draft, hit that join button for only $1.99 a month. You get first access to these film rooms that we're going to be doing. And in the coming weeks, I'm going to try and get some special guests to break down some of this film with me. So that's going to be really fun. We have to delve into this great master debate like Tony calls it. So hit that join button if you would like to support the podcast, and definitely check out those film rooms coming up on the channel. And like and subscribe. That's all we can ask for.
I'm going to give you a little, maybe a nudge, a challenge, or just a tip for before you make that next Bryce Young film review. Is we have a unique opportunity right now. And let me see. It is called, hold on, we can go. It's through Underdog Fantasy. Hold up. I don't want to listen to it. You can go to Underdog Fantasy Football on YouTube. And what's his name? His name is Josh Norris. Who used to be at work for WFNZ like 15 years ago or something. And he went on to be a big, he went on to be with CBS or one of these big, and now I think he's doing his own thing. Big fantasy football guy. But there are film breakdowns before he was hired as our quarterback coach, Josh McCown, talks about both of these players. So maybe if you watch those back to back before you then did your film breakdown, you can maybe get a little tease into what he sees and looks at and highlight some of that. I watched the CJ Stroud one, and I started watching the Bryce Young. I gotta say, I felt like he gushed over CJ Stroud, and he was very positive about Bryce Young. So those are the things. This is the C3 Panthers podcast. Get your calls in at 252-228-5098. We want to hear what you want to talk about. Tell us what the people have to say about the Carolina Panthers. Let's get into the show, guys. What's up? One more plug. Next week, right now, put it in your calendar, folks, especially the old hats. Former Carolina Panther David Gettis will be joining the C3 Panthers podcast. David Gettis, not poor guy. I'm sure he's like having a wonderful dude and all of this, is played on some tough Panther teams. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't under the best of circumstances. He was in Carolina for that 2-10, I believe. He played with St. Pierre, notched 3 touchdowns, 500 yards for the Carolina Panthers on 36 receptions. We really were very excited about Jim, a diamond in the rough. Struggled with injury, was not in the league very long, but former Baylor player. Now he's a college coach, and he's going to join the C3 Panthers podcast. What I really want to pick his brain, you guys, be in contact with me about what you want to know. I really want to know what it's like for a guy that's in the late rounds, right? How they are trying to fight to be in the league. That's something that interests me. I'm also interested in what he thinks about Terrace Marshall Jr., a player that really kind of resembles him in a skill set in so many ways. And also has struggled with injury. How does he persevere? Different little take because Terrace Marshall Jr., second-round draft pick, so advantage there. So be sure to tune in next Tuesday for that. Cody Lack, what do we got?
Yeah, man, let's jump into this show. Are the Carolina Panthers more aggressive than ever before? And, I think that we have a very good reason to say yes. But first, we're going to, as always, start with these quarterbacks as we do, and then we'll break down some of this new information from Peter King. So if we do a real quick mock draft roundup, right now, everyone is still penciling us for CJ Stroud, except for Mike Tannenbaum. Everyone seems to believe that CJ Stroud is going to be the number 1 pick for the Carolina Panthers. However, Peter King put out some very interesting information recently, and I felt like it was relevant enough for us to talk about. So this is from Peter King, and this is from his article. Check it out. He said, "You're the one who started that." Panthers coach Frank Reich said to me at the league meetings about this quarterback hype thing I wrote about in March. Reich has been a quarterback coach, coordinator, or head coach for 17 years. And in all but 6 games of those 17 years, his quarterback was 6'4" or taller. He told me the height of the quarterback is not really a thing, so the 5'10" Bryce Young and 6'3" CJ Stroud are both very much alive in the running for the first pick of the draft, and I believe him absolutely. But the longtime friend of Reich's told me the height thing is legit with him. Though Reich hasn't told him so, this friend would be surprised if Young were Reich's top choice. Reich's not saying. The other thing I hear is several, and this is one of the things that got people buzzing on Twitter.
Yes.
So the other thing I hear is several influential voices in the organization favor Young. That doesn't mean Young will be the pick, not at all. This is a collaborative choice, and the Panthers will still have organizational meetings ahead to set their draft board with finality. But before he took the Carolina Panthers quarterback job, Josh McCown reportedly told friends he loved Young. What that means after he studies all the passers, I don't know. I asked one coach who studied the top quarterbacks and 2 top analysts who have also studied them and how they have them ranked after the pro day. The coach I gave an anonymity. Blah, that's a tongue twister.
Anonymity.
Anonymity. There you go. That's the one. Todd McShay of ESPN and Daniel Jeremiah were the others. I did not tell of the 3 opinions to any of the others. Each of the 3 has the order of the top 3 as Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and Will Levis. was 4, and McShay and Jeremiah, but the coach said he's not sold on Levis and believes he deserves a second-round grade. This also generated some buzz right here. The game has changed in how quarterbacks are viewed. Drew Brees and Russell Wilson, both height challenged, have seen to that. Still, what's notable to me is that we're talking about a 5'10 and 1/8, 190-poundish quarterback without Kyler Murray's speed, possibly being the top quarterback picked in the draft, over a 6'3" Stroud who sliced and diced the national champs with by far the best defense in college football. Just watch Young, the coach said. When I watch tape, I don't see size. He doesn't play small. This follows another team official who told me before the meetings Young's height is not a disadvantage. Well, it is, but he might still be picked first on draft night, assuming Reich is on board. Last thing of note, Frank Reich is not one to brawl about players, even one as important as this one. He is a consensus seeker. I think he likes Young and likes him a lot. I just don't know if he likes him more than Stroud. But if he favors Stroud, and if the majority of the influencers inside the Panthers love Young, I believe Reich will be okay with picking Young. So my question to all of you is, are we believing this? Is this all just smokescreens? And do we think that right now most people in the Panthers organization prefer Bryce Young over CJ Stroud?
Man, this is a non-story. And I mean, you got to write stories like this at draft time. This is why I hate, this is why I get irritated by draft coverage. It's all speculation. We've been covering everything that all of these guys have said. None of these guys got real true inside sources to what the Panthers are going to do at this pick. Nobody's leaking information right now unless it needs to be leaked. Right. In fact, I would argue that they have not made their decision as yet. I mean, as they are working through the process. This is what all of these stories, every single one of them are based on the exact things we've heard in press conferences. Right. So you hear something. You hear one thing right here is you hear somebody start talking about, oh, Frank Reich has never had a small quarterback. And then we'll talk about that. And that becomes a storyline that infiltrates the narrative. Then you hear this is that he says, look, he goes on to say, no, is the size, his height alone. And he said this at the combine, I think, or at one of the press conferences. His size alone is not the deterrent, but you do have to consider that his size is a factor to think about. Right. We know that. We know, too, that like every one of these things we have heard, look, when they say people within the organization like Bryce Young, it's based on a snippet from David Tepper, or more likely, I remember Scott Fitterer saying, yeah, he's a guy that is a elite quarterback, right? They take this one thing, and what they do is any single person, every single one of these articles, and really arguably your position, if you believe the Carolina Panthers are split over this, if you believe Frank Reich's a consensus seeker and that the other guys want this and he's willing to go around all of this, you're really just looking for it's verification bias to what you already think and what you already believe. This is no new information to any of this. Everybody has said from the beginning, these two guys are elite, like the talents.
Right.
They're the top talents. And we have heard all of this crap about Russell Wilson is based on stuff last year that Scott Fitterer said about height and batted balls and talking about Russell Wilson. So it's just like we're piecing together data to create a narrative that we want rather than what is really informed. We don't know who the heck in that room is just in love with who.
Right.
And if you really truly want the most insight you could probably get is just go in and listen to Josh McCown talk about that film review. That's probably the best source of information. But all of this draft hype is speculation, and what they have to do is they got to go write a blog about it.
Played well. These guys played hard.
Go write a blog about it. No, that's it. I mean, I don't think this is, but you guys take off.
I mean, I don't think that we're picking number one. I don't know that there's many smoke and mirrors that are to be had with this. I don't have the feeling that we're playing this game of trading back and trying to recoup some of those picks or anything along those lines. I don't think Houston's even interested in that. I think at this point in time, the Panthers are going to be taking a quarterback number one. There's not going to be a game that they're playing. There's not going to be anything crazy there. I don't really know why there would be smoke screens. This doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense to say there's smoke screens. However, I think it's fair to say I've watched, like I said, I haven't watched any others other than CJ Stroud and Young. But the gap between them, like as far as even if you take into consideration the size, like the gap for me, I was a big Stroud fan. I don't think that gap is as much as I thought it was, as much as I wanted Stroud. And so the idea that Young is a special player is something that I think you could see with the playmaking ability that he had, the decision making that he had. It was just the only thing that there was really not much that Josh McCown. If you guys watched that, it was an Underdog Fantasy film breakdown. The only thing that I think he had an issue with was that he misplaced one of the balls. Like he was in. I think it was a bit of an unfair comparison between him and Stroud when they did that, because they did his best game of his entire career against Georgia.
Oh, and they did the worst game for
exactly.
But they had a reason. They tried to explain it, but I do think that's a good point to make, though. You're bringing up.
But even with that, I mean, when you look at what Young is able to do, and it was clear that there is a difference in talent level. I'm not saying that Stroud had the benefit of, I'm not using that against him, but I mean, I will say that Young seemed to be really good with his decision making, and so I could see.
What's your takeaway from it?
Their eyes.
What's your takeaway from what you learned about Bryce Young today?
I think Bryce Young is the most mentally prepared quarterback to start in the NFL than any quarterback that I would have seen in the past. And I think it has a lot to do with his upbringing. He was his father's a psychologist. So like he's been practiced in a lot of the ways to prepare yourself mentally for some of the worst possible situations. And his father probably helped him tremendously. That's why I think that it's no surprise that he is one of the most calm, most unfazed. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Unfazed quarterbacks of this draft. Of really a lot of quarterbacks in the past as well. Like even
he's a guy that bowls 300. He's a guy that bowls 300. Not really. I don't know that, but he's a guy that sinks the putt on 18 to win the Masters.
Right.
The pressure is on. He doesn't shrink, even though he is small. One question to you, CK, and then we give it to Greg. The one I won't say, I don't know. I haven't watched a ton. I mean, I'm kind of like you. I've just watched a little bit of other people talking about it. Does Bryce Young do anything great and exceptionally better than anybody else? Or is he just really sound at every single thing?
I think that it's, again, this is just off of a limited amount of info. I just spent today watching the film, right? Watching the film breakdown. I didn't even get to watch all the film, right? Obviously, I'm not a film junkie in that respect. I think Bryce Young is above average at everything, which is, I think, a rare enough trait for any quarterback, right? You typically have trade-offs, right? I think Bryce Young is probably the most balanced that we've seen come out of the draft in a while. I don't know that you would consider him elite in any category in particular outside of his decision making.
Yeah, like the ice cold Joe Burrow,
right?
That's important.
Right. Cam Newton had elite athleticism and an elite arm, right? But he had questionable decision making, and other questions about from a character standpoint, right?
Well, accuracy questions.
Right, accuracy, exactly. And typically you see that across the board, even with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was considered a gunslinger, a risk taker. He wasn't considered exceptional at anything beyond his arm strength, right? And his accuracy was a question in college, from my recollection. So I mean, Bryce Young just seems to be the most polished quarterback that I think we've seen come out of a draft in a long time.
You're up.
Hey, man.
Greg wants on the mic real quick.
Greg, you're muted. Hey, no, listen, I'm going to let Greg go, but we have to give this very special thank you to Just Don't Care, who gifted another 5 superfan subscriptions in our chat room.
Nice.
To Janny Trejo,
Nice.
Patty Crimes, Carson One, Right Bets, and
Hell
Jesse
yeah.
Flowney. Just don't care. You're the man, brother. We love you, dude. Thank you. Appreciate that so much.
Yeah.
Greg, jump in on the convo, brother.
Okay, look, I've been studying and looking at CJ Stroud and Bryce Young footage. And look, I'm going to tell you, I just don't see the difference between the two that makes anybody really, really make a huge difference in their pick, to be honest with you. I think that you can say that maybe one is smarter than the other as far as reading the field, but it's not so significant that it makes that much of a difference. And here's my thing. I'm going to go back to what I've been following on the whole time. I can teach somebody to read the field better. I cannot teach somebody to be taller. Okay. And everybody wants to come at me with these Drew Brees stats and, Drew Brees, this, that. That's great. Drew Brees is 3 inches taller than Bryce Young. 3 inches taller than Bryce Young. Okay. So while I feel like that if we, no matter who we draft in this draft right here, Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, I don't think we're a loser. I think there's a great consolation prize for whoever gets next. But I've even heard of today, the Texans being willing to trade their pickup.
Yeah.
Draft out of the number 2 pick to go to number 9 and pick Will Levis.
I don't hate that. I don't believe that for a second.
But when I hear that, it makes me wonder, is there a big difference between these two guys, or is one guy hands down the best no matter what, and the other guy is way behind him? I'm going to tell you, I can't see much of a difference between the two. I don't see a ton of great reads when I compare Bryce Young to CJ Stroud. I don't.
Or you would say this is, how about this? If Bryce Young's real asset is his decision making, I don't think that I've heard that Stroud had a weakness in decision making.
Right. Like when I watch the footage, like I watch both players and I see, like if you pull up Bryce Young and CJ Stroud highlights right now and watch both of them, the 20-minute highlights they put up, maybe 3 out of the first 10, 12 passes they throw for both players, I can look and say that's an interception in the NFL.
I think the thing, though, for Bryce Young, and that people would say, and people that are film junkies, people that are watching this closely, they would say this is Bryce Young does really well when the play doesn't go as planned. And so when the pocket's not perfect, it's got, so we're looking at CJ Stroud saying he's a good decision maker, but he also has time to throw, make the decision. And then we're saying Bryce Young has great decision making and read skills, and the line's not great and some different things. I don't love that argument because I'm like, oh, woe to Alabama and their lack of talent. I will, just for the height thing, say this. Size matters, folks. And for someone who thought their whole life, for their whole adult life, they were 5'10". I went to the doctor one time and they said, or I measured myself, and I said 5'10". And then I went to the doctor, maybe
5'9" and a half.
5'9" and 3/4, dude. Or at least my wife says 5'9". Like I felt like this. That girl, you know how they put the thing up, and they put that little thing on your head.
She didn't give you no breathing room.
Dude, I felt like she tried to push me to the center of the earth. Yep. But how about this? Is I really felt I want to be 5'10".
I mean, I feel like at a certain point you're allowed to round up, and it's like, what's 4/4 of an inch, dude?
Well,
like
turns out.
Dude, so okay, look, first off, so let me say something real quick, and then we need to take care of some business here. But listen, I've said this before. After Christian McCaffrey was drafted, love him or hate him, but David Gettleman had a propensity to really drop some knowledge with those words that he would say. And he said that Christian McCaffrey had Luke Kuechly DNA, meaning he was an incredible studier. He was always in the film. He just had a next level dedication to his craft. Okay. Well, if I may speak on behalf of Bryce Young has Luke Kuechly DNA at the most important position in football, at the quarterback position. Nick Saban said himself that as soon as they would be done playing a team, Bryce Young would look over all of the film from that previous game before any of the coaches had a chance to do so. Okay, this man, for all of the things that we say about him being small and undersized, and he is. I mean, if we draft him, he is going to be the smallest quarterback in the NFL without question, right? But with that said, there is nothing more, in my opinion, that Bryce Young could do to make up for his lack of size. He has incredible pocket awareness. He has great touch of the football. Even when he's under pressure, he keeps his eyes downfield. He has such an ability to make people miss in space. And that's why I really, even though he is a small guy, I would not be upset at all if the Carolina Panthers drafted him number 1. And you know what yeah, go ahead, CK.
I would say before we do business, because I know we got to get this done.
Yeah.
That point I think is important. And even with you saying the smallest quarterback in the NFL, I think it's worth mentioning that he won the Heisman at the size that he is. I know the college is a different world, but where do you think all the NFL players came from? They all came from college. He was, a lot of these people that are in college right now are going to be superstars in the NFL, and they didn't win the Heisman over him, right? So I think that you've got to take that into consideration. That's how special. I mean, even the fact that he is as small as he is, the fact that he is considered as the number 1 potential overall pick should tell you just how much he is, as far as how much better of a NFL ready quarterback he is than anybody else in this draft. I'm not saying he's going to be the best quarterback. I'm saying, talking about game 1, he is going to be the best player on the field between all 4 of these people. That might change 3 years down the line. And that's to Greg's point, right? That's where you start to really have this conversation of whether or not you want to go with the CJ Stroud, who can develop to have similar traits. And maybe even now that he has the size and the height that you want out of a quarterback, or maybe even an Anthony Richardson, you have that benefit of saying, that they have a higher ceiling, if you will. But Bryce Young, hands down, I don't even think it's close. He's the most pro ready.
Yeah. Listen, all great points. And something cool is these guys are friends with one another, man. They're literally right now training for the draft together. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys are really good friends. There's some clips of them before the Elite 11 competition that they both participated in, which CJ Stroud won that Elite 11. I mean, there are pictures of them goofing around, joking around. These guys are exceptional young men. That's part of the reason why I'm really happy with both of them. And I know a lot of other Panther fans are. But you know what? Speaking of Panther fans, let's give credit where credit is due to some of these incredible new members of the C3 Panthers Podcast. CK, talk to these people, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have an abundance of new members thanks to some gifted subs. But we also have some people who've just hit that join button. And that is including our independent journalist for CarolinaCatChronicles.com, C3D's Ill Skills. Thank you for joining the C3 Superfan Club. We also have Padawan Panther, who's also hit that join button for $1.99. They said, we want to support what you guys do. We want to show up and have you be a part of our day in and day out lives, and we want to support you financially. So I appreciate all you absolute legends. Welcome to the C3 Superfan Club.
Hey, and then our boy White Chocolate Espresso with the $1.99 says, piss off everyone and draft Levis so I can laugh. Hey, dude, we would watch the world burn on that night, man. Yeah, I mean, dude, this is going to be a conversation that we're not going to be able to get away from. So, like I said, man, hit that like and subscribe. And we're going to be doing these film room sessions, breaking down Bryce and CJ. The CJ is going to upload for everyone this week, but early access to members. And next, when we look at Bryce next, we're going to look at some of his Heisman campaign, some of his 2021 films. So that is going to be really incredible stuff. Yeah, man. But
I have one final kind of pivot point of fan discussion on this.
Okay.
As we kind of dive in looking for every single hint or read the tea leaves of what the Carolina Panthers will do, there has been some people that have brought up a discussion of why the national media and why the fans, or a lot of people, are so interested in what Josh McCown has to say about a quarterback rather than the offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown. And I got to say, I think this is trying to find a problem where a problem doesn't exist, right? Is especially from a national media perspective, is that Thomas Brown's never been an offensive coordinator. Nobody has really ever heard of him, except for, as we heard the candidates coming out, that he was a hot candidate under McVay and some different things. He was not a quarterback in college. He was a tight end, an assistant head coach, a running backs coach. He played for South Carolina, Miami, Georgia, or maybe his coaching experience there. But my thing is this, is that I'm not saying that Thomas Brown's opinion is not important in this decision. And I'm not even saying that Josh McCown's opinion should be weighted heavily. I just don't think there's really something nefarious in the background going on. I think, look, Josh McCown is a well-known name across football. He was a quarterback in the NFL for a bazillion years, whether it was in a backup capacity. And that is, it just seems like the thing, it just name recognition alone sounds like this is the guy that you would try to find some insight from.
Well, number one, I agree with that, but I also think we can talk about the fact that Thomas Brown isn't necessarily known for his quarterbacks, right? He's not coming in here with a crazy quarterback history, right?
Yeah.
On top of that, was Brown even at the NFL Combine? And I'll quickly answer that for you. He was not. It was Fitterer, it was McCown, and it was Reich in the stands. It was not Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown was at some of the pro days, but that tells me that Brown is focused on other things, and they're going to be able to get their quarterback. So I don't think there's anything to be a problem with. Unfortunately, I think what ends up happening with a lot of these things is some of the people that, I'm not going to name drop, but some people are just trying to use this as an opportunity to have a nice little Twitter quote that's going to go and get a bunch of hits because everybody's going to
tagging people, like tagging national shows with it and some things like that.
Right. It's just an opportunity to create clout in a lot of ways. I don't think there's anything nefarious about what's going on. And I, like I said, I think it's clear just based on the fact that he wasn't even at the combine that this is a decision between Reich, McCown, Fitterer, and maybe even David Tepper.
Well, and let me say this too. So one of the reasons how I saw this argument got started is somebody was saying that Josh McCown, that his opinion should matter more than Anthony Brown, because if Anthony Brown had if Thomas Brown has a really good year this year as the offensive coordinator, he's going to be out the door in 1 year, and Josh McCown is still going to be here for the Carolina Panthers. And maybe that isn't true. I don't know. But what I will say is this. I feel like the title matters. It does matter. And if we're just being fair, I think if you are the offensive coordinator, especially going into this rookie year, I do think that the opinion of Thomas should weigh a little bit more than Josh McCown's. And I also don't feel like our coaching staff is building a room where one opinion it reigns supreme over the other. In fact, that's one of the things that I believed from that prior Peter King article, is that this organization is really doing everything in their power to find a consensus and to value everyone's opinion. And, I know that's going to be hard to do when you have so many cooks in the kitchen. But, I think that Thomas Brown, he's going to be authoring this offense in a lot of ways this year. And
Or is he? Or is he truly? Is he not really? We know Reich's calling the plays from the beginning. And he said he's going to phase him in and some different things like that. I understand. I think you make a good point. Look, I'm sure that his input will be considered, well received, and valued. But the idea is what I'm just trying to say is that you've got two quarterbacks in Frank Reich and McCown that played the position in the NFL for over a decade each. Is that and I'm not saying that his opinion should matter. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, is this fine? It just seems like trying to find a problem.
Yeah, where
rather than it being yes. And that's all I got to say about it. All right, but that's it. Let's move on.
And again, Josh McCown is also incredibly respected now. I think he's going to be a great coach. And there's a very big possibility that he might be the future offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers down the road. You never know, man. Some people really take to this coaching thing. But okay, let's move on to our next topic here. On theathletic.com, Joe Person, and in collaboration with a few other people, put out this article about what went into the process of the Carolina Panthers actually getting the number 1 overall pick. And I felt like it would be good to kind of mention some of this stuff because it kind of gives an insight into our general manager and what they're doing and the mindset of Scott Fitterer and this organization and how they go through things. So this is a brief summary from the fencing coach on Reddit on NFL. He says the turning point where Fitterer realized he needed to make moves for the quarterback was when the Panthers were in the running for the NFC South under interim head coach Steve Wilkes, and they lost to the Bucs in week 17. To understand what an ideal trade for the number 1 pick would be, Bears GM Ryan Poles actually phoned the Blackhawks GM Kyle Davidson. He used his analytics team to determine wins over expected to see what a trade acquisition might do for the Bears. The Panthers were the first team to meet with Chicago about the trade. They met for 20 minutes at the Combine and realized the Panthers couldn't trade up to number 1 with picks alone. After Reich spent the last 3 seasons by trading or signing older quarterbacks, they decided to go with a draft and develop approach. Poles liked what he saw from the top quarterback prospects, but realizing the Bears had deep needs, he decided to go for the trade approach to accumulate players and picks. Fitterer was at his daughter's soccer game and was like, fuck watching my daughter's game. I got to get this trade done. By the way, this is probably the words of the Reddit poster here. He said, so he did with the Tepper's approval. Fitterer and Poles agreed that DJ Moore was worth a first-round pick equivalent, which was a key part of the negotiation. The Panthers kept a few of their young staples, Derek Brown and Brian Burns, off the table in the trade. The final part of the trade was negotiation over which second the Panthers would send. The Panthers wanted to keep their higher pick and ended up giving their lower second from the CMC trade, and boom, trigger pulled. So
that's
this is
the win of the trade right there to me.
Yeah,
that final point.
Agreed.
100%. And by the way, I don't care if people disagree with me or not. I believe that right now, Scott Fitterer is the best young general manager in the NFL, the best up-and-coming general manager, and I'm going to call my shot. I believe in the next couple of years, we're all going to be talking about Scott Fitterer as the best general manager in the NFL. What's up, boy? Get at me.
I'm going to pull back the old slide. There's a couple of things that stand out to me. The 3 points that come out to me on that, or maybe 2. Number 1 was the Frank Reich and has dealt with the older, aging, bridge type quarterback for the last few years. And he's had some success with it, but he's also seen the challenges and the failures of that. I like that the Carolina Panthers, who have done the same thing over the last couple of years, I like this is not repeating, rinse and repeat, is that we took a different, it's kind of learning from your past, I hope. And then the other is, I know that we have a first round grade on DJ Moore, but again, wide receivers, far easier position to replace in production and talent. Very good player, but having a franchise quarterback or having DJ Moore, I think this is the right move. And I think it was CK that said this in a past show. This could just be a good trade for both teams. The real win for me comes in the fact that we did not give up the 39th. We gave up the 61st. Right. And just to show you what this does real quick, if we pull this up, I found this this chart right here, and it talks about how they rank the, I guess, what type of picks you have. The Carolina Panthers have the number 1 pick. They have 2 picks in the top 50. Now, if we would have traded away that 39th, that would have been a 1 there. That would have been the 1, and we would have had a 61. We have 3 picks in the top 100 still, and 6 picks overall. It sounds to me like the Panthers, while they may have given up some future value at some times in the draft, really were able to maintain. Look, we don't need more than 6 picks in the draft, honestly.
Right.
And, you know what I mean? It's like at some point, it's better to have 3 or 4 really good picks than to have a bunch of players that come into the draft that aren't going to be on the team in 2 years. And if you go back to what the Panthers did, do you remember that draft where we had like 8 picks? Maybe it was Matt Rule's first draft. There's like only 2 players, Bravion Roy and Jeremy Chin, still on the team. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, and these guys, remember, Brady Christensen was drafted in the 3rd round. I think Fitterer has done a tremendous job. I agree with JD 864, man, from the beautiful Isles of Hawaii. Let Fit cook, man. I really have a feeling that Fitterer is going to end up being absolutely worth it, and he continues to prove that. I love the free agent signings. I love what we've done in the draft so far. I'm excited to see what we're going to do in the draft this year. But, Tony, before we go on, wait, dude, the chat room is so lively tonight, man. People are in there fighting in the chat room. But we also got another incredible donation, a love bomb, $20 love bomb from P-Dubs. He says, what up, C3? I've said it before, taking Young at number 1 is an asymmetric risk given his size. His intangibles don't outweigh his size, in my own opinion. Let's take Stroud and not rush him. Cody, I'm 100% with you on all things Lamar. Yeah, baby. I appreciate you, P-Dubs. That's awesome, man. Good looking out, brother.
Fantastic stuff. My bastard son also coming in here with a $1.99 support. How about that? How about when your bastard son gives you money rather than me giving him money? He says, Tony, now jitters for Fitterer. I will point this out. One way that I thank you guys all for your monetary contributions. We are trying to build our super fan club, but really what you can do is help us just by supporting the show, by being in the chat, calling into the show at 252-228-5098 and smashing the thumbs up button. Another way that you can support the show is just jumping over to CarolinaCatChronicles.com.
So many people have hit me up wanting to write for the site, man. Connor,
we got to. Everybody is welcome. I've got to respond to Connor. I do want to mention that, guys. Look, it was a delay. I did not get last week's podcast up till this morning. I had to leave for New York first thing Wednesday morning. Kind of a last minute. I decided on Monday, I think, of last week to go to a family funeral. Man, these Italian family funerals are real deals, dude. This was a 3-day, full-on event. Great time with family, but I was on the road the whole time. My laptop had died the week before, so I was like really just on my phone, and I just was unable to get the podcast up. So I apologize to the people that were waiting for that. A lot of people hit me up saying, we need this. This is my favorite podcast. Get on the ball, Tony. It is up, and I will make sure this one is up first thing tomorrow morning. Likewise, D's Ill Skills has been writing for the show, for the website. He's got some stories in the hole that I will be working on over the next 24 hours to get onto the site. So go to the website, check out, consider writing. It's a fan site that we're going to try to maintain and build. And the last thing, this is a cool thing right here, you could always do is you hit the shop icon or you go to the shop section there. We still have some really cool merchandise. This is why I'm not a good salesman. We've had this merchandise for years, and I don't even mention it on the show. Great Keep Pounding shirt for people that are living in. Now, look, is for the people across the pond, we're going to have to work on the dang shipping, man. Every time I go to ship something, I try to cut them a break. It's expensive to ship international, but look, we've got some good prices. Put it in the bank. This is my favorite shirt. Guess who designed this for me? Lynn Leonhardt. She designed my two favorite shirts that we've actually, all of our shirts she designed. My favorite shirt she designed, except for this, which this is the first one we got. But put it in the bank. Put that Lombardi in the bank. We can bring this one back now because of really the optimism going forward. So those are some ways that we continue. We're going to try to, this is our year. This is the year of C3. We're going to kill it. Don't forget David Gettis coming up next week on the C3 Panthers podcast. Get your calls in 252-228-5098. What's up next, Cody?
Yeah, man. So let's jump into some of the more recent Panther news. Eddie Pinheiro was signed to a contract, and now we know that it is a 2-year, $4.1 million deal. What do you guys think about this? This deal for Eddie Pinheiro?
Love it.
I mean, we don't have many better options. Like, I can't tell you a kicker right now that we would have that would be better than Pinheiro. Pinheiro was the Atlanta guy, though, right?
That was one game.
No, I get you. You're right, and that's why I'm not going to totally dismiss him.
Yeah, I mean, again, and you guys know how I felt about that. I felt like he did lose that game for us, right? But and that's contrary to Tony's
Don't worry,
belief.
I'm not going to argue about it.
but the difference here is if you look at his stats for the year, he is a not top 10 kicker, top 3 kicker in the NFL. No. From a accuracy total, and it wasn't even a matter of like he was taking less kicks. He had like the second largest volume of kicks, and he had the, I believe, second best percentage of makes. Right, so the dude was given plenty of opportunity to miss, and outside of that, that one game in Atlanta, which granted was a big deal, especially when you realize how the end of the season happened. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise now that we know what's coming down the pipe for the Panthers. But he, he's been one of the most. He was probably the best kicker we've had in a while. And even if you want to sit there and talk about Zane Gonzalez had 2 season-ending injuries that happened with him warming up. I'm not go and give that guy any type of an extension and bank on him being the guy moving forward. We got lucky that Eddie Pinheiro happened to be money. And we signed him and he got rewarded for it.
Wild part of the story to this, for me, is that it was just reported that we were releasing Zane Gonzalez initially and going with Pinheiro. And then like 3 days later, it goes, turns out we didn't release him, traded him to the 49ers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fit is cooking.
Fitterer, man. Oh, by the way, speaking of fit cooking, we got another dono from your bastard son. He says, Tony likes to squat for Scott. Hey. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I feel like with Pinheiro, like, I'm pretty confident with this guy from, like, 40 yards in. I feel like you've got a very, very, very accurate leg for a mid-range to normal kick, but I don't feel like he has the power or the leg to be a big kicker. I don't think that he's ever going to be the guy that hits a 63-yard field goal to win the game. I feel like he will consistently hit a 40-yard field goal to win the game, which is, a good thing to have. He just doesn't blow me away as a guy that's going to have a big leg. And that's the good news,
the good news with that is that means that we're probably going to be in a lot more short yardage situations that we're going to go for it at 60 yards out and not just, kick a field goal and hope that we're going to win that way. That's that. How many times in our Ron Rivera era did we just settle for field goals, and it ended up being the end of our, end of the game for us because we just kept on putting it on Graham Gano, putting it on Graham Gano. I'm much happier with the idea of, hey, let's get a guy who's money for the most part in those short to mid range, and then still sinks them pretty well beyond 50 when you look at the stats. I wouldn't put him out there for a 60-yarder. I'll agree with that. But quite honestly, if we're kicking at 60 yards, I would much rather go for it or punt the ball and not risk giving the opposing team better field position.
It just gives me no solace because it's like no matter what happens, like we could have a consistent kicker, but then we saw the injury with Zane. It's just like I never feel good. I never feel safe, and that I think we could do a lot worse than Eddie Pinheiro. But it's like, dude, that gives me no long-term comfort, I guess to say, But I don't know, man. Greg, you had something you want to say?
No, I was going to say, like, I got to kind of temper myself with my expectations because, like, when I say that this is not a guy that can hit like 60-yard field goals consistently, there's only one or two guys out there that can do that.
Right.
So I can't be too upset if we don't. So I guess all I'm saying is the signing doesn't like excite me. Like, it's like, okay, we have a decent kicker.
Yeah.
Like, I'm cool with Pinheiro. We have a decent kicker. We don't have a guy that I'm like, yeah, we got one of the best kickers in the league with Pinheiro.
Yeah, we have one of the most consistent, and that's what I'll take that at this point in time, especially with a rookie quarterback coming in. If we get down in the red zone, it's not this type of a situation where, man, if you don't make a touchdown here, we are not sure our kicker can actually kick the field goal from here, like we had to deal with Joey Sly, right? So that part I will say that I'm thankful for. Is it a needle mover? No, but it's when you can have consistency at the position. I think that's far more valuable than trying to get the one person who's unlikely to land on the Panther squad, which is going to be like a Justin Tucker-esque type of person. I don't think those things come along very often. So consistency is key at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then let's also talk about this brand new signing for the Carolina Panthers, Camus Kruger-Hill. He used to be on the Houston Texans, and basically, if you kind of do the research, it's looking a lot like he's going to be a special teamer, somebody that's going to be on punt returns and then kickoff and stuff like that. I'll pull up his PFF stats. They were not great, but this is just another warm body signed by the Panthers, and maybe this is going to benefit our special team. Any opinions on this, boys?
My opinion on this, guys, is clear. Look, every year we sign players that are brought in to play mainly special teams roles and supportive roles to add depth. I think where's interesting here is where the depth is being added is at linebacker, specifically middle linebacker. I wonder what that means. Does that mean that the Panthers are trying to target linebackers in the draft? Can we read the tea leaves on that? But we've had players. Oh God, who was the guy we had? And we had him on the show a long time ago that are brought in for those specific roles. Look, we got to talk about it. It's the news. But this is a part of the game, though. These are part of the things that fill out a roster. It is moves like this. If this guy makes a play on special teams or does something to contribute or has to step in for Shaq Thompson for a game or two or something like that and is not a significant liability, those are the type of those signings that make a difference in the long term.
Right.
Yeah, I have his stats from PFF up on screen. In solo tackles, he was 38th. That's tied for 68th. Assists, he was 7th, or he had 7. That's tied for 86th. No interceptions, no forced fumbles. And let's be real, some really bad grades overall.
He wasn't a starter, though. I don't even think, was he?
Yeah, and again, he's a warm body, man. He's a special teams guy. I saw one. I think it might have been a preseason game. He took a pick 6 back to the house. I don't know. It also wouldn't start me if he played for Houston because the Texans were not a good team.
Yeah.
So if he actually did play some meaningful time, that wouldn't surprise me. But hey, before we go any further, man, listen, dude. We have a bunch of people that love to listen to us talk about the Carolina Panthers, no doubt. But we also have this subset of people that only come here for one reason, dude. And that's because they're a bunch of little freaks who like to get shamed by the big daddy himself. Talk to him, Papa.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, History is upon us. We are a few weeks away. Now, you guys may be talking about the draft. I'm talking about Baby Dizzle is going to be here in a few weeks as well.
Oh, Baby
So we're going to find this next few weeks to be super exciting here in the CK household. But you guys have come here to C3 to talk about the Carolina Panthers, the news, the opinions, the news in the NFL, and you haven't hit that like button yet? Well, I have one thing to say to all you absolute freaks. Subscriber shame.
205 people watching, 75 thumbs up. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell for every single time the C3 Panthers podcast goes live. Consider joining for $1.99 a month with specialized early film room sessions that goes live to all of our super fan subscribers. Hit that join button. We appreciate each and every single one of you. And hey, man, listen, me and Tony are very heartened by the amount of people putting C3 in their username, baby.
Thing.
We love that shit.
Join our gang, bro.
Dude, we have a real Panthers gang out here, boy. Put that C3 in the username, wherever you want to do it, man, on Twitter, on YouTube. Let everybody know, C3 Panther Nation, we roll deep, baby, whenever we keep pounding. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know exactly what I'm saying. Hey,
word. Join our gang, folks. Join our gang. We're here on Tuesday nights. We're here on Friday nights. We're here almost every dang day as we continue to cover in some form of capacity, whether at CarolinaCatChronicles.com or wherever else. You know what's turning out to be a pleasant component to the Carolina Panthers is David Tepper's wife. She turns out to be the best person in this ownership group of David Tepper. Second wife, she's the looker. Look how she is short. Shout out to David Newton for a great tweet where he said that way when she was hugging Bryce Young.
Bryce Young is taller than
and he was like, just a note, he's the taller one of the two. Great, yeah, David Newton, the goat. But they brought in Damar Hamlin, and the Panthers players participated along with the American Heart Association in a CPR training event. Now, we know that Damar Hamlin suffered an injury in a game leading up to the playoffs. I think it was the final game of the season for the Bills and the Bengals. A lot of controversy surrounding how that was covered, how the NFL was going to work through that. But Damar Hamlin, essentially died on the field, as what I gather. I think it was David Chow who has been on this podcast too. He is the sports MD. He was a sports doctor for the Chargers. Now he's moved a lot into the sports podcasting world. Like he's got his own show and things like this. And I thought he put it in a way. It kind of felt cold and like a little. He said this: if you're gonna die, if this is gonna happen to you, the best place for it to happen to you is an NFL field, because you have so many emergency responders and professionals right there. If this happens to somebody in a car crash and their heart stops, it could take minutes.
Well, recently, a lot of it has happened to some high school players and some middle school players. And tragically, they ended up dying because they just didn't have the type of CPR trained people at that football game to help.
Can I also point out too, though, that I think that the movies and television kind of dramatize CPR. Like literally, only about 6 or 7% of people that actually get CPR survive, which is what makes this with Damar Hamlin so much more crazy. Like the movies make it seem like everybody who gets it survives, but quite honestly, the majority of people, when I say majority, I mean upper 90% of people who get it do not survive. And should you survive this, you generally tend to have broken ribs, all kinds of different things, because you are trying to jumpstart a heart.
Right. Or
it's
keep
very
it
difficult.
going, right? Or just keep it not going, but keeping the blood flowing manually.
Yeah. And the movies make it seem like it always works, but quite honestly, it almost never works, which is why the Damar Hamlin thing was so crazy, because it almost never works. And it
why does he got a wet blanket everything? Greg wet blankets this.
I'm just
Is this a PR move? Is this all for PR? Like the players doing it? Or maybe it's just raising awareness, right? I mean, they do say they have a commercial on the radio. Like if you listen to like NPR and stuff, and it'll be like, remember, staying alive. Staying alive. That's the rhythm that you do. And you know, they don't even tell you to do mouth to mouth anymore. Now it's just all pumping the chest. But here is the thing: is David Tepper. We're going to talk just in a momentarily about how David Tepper compares to another new owner in the Carolinas when it comes to Tom Dundon and the Hurricanes. David Tepper's stock has been down, and it's just in the past, I guess, since the firing of Matt Rule, and really since the hiring of Frank Reich, that things have started to turn around. Remember the press conference for Matt Rule explaining it? It was a disaster for David Tepper. He looked terrible in that moment. And what we've seen is that we heard about her being on the hiring committee for Frank Reich. She really seems to be just a bit poor, like a good person to have around, like makes David Tepper better. This is whether it's real, whether it's for show. The Carolina Panthers got a good headline right here and a good moment seeing them do that. So I just wanted to bring that up momentarily.
100%. And Tony, listen, we've all said before, David Tepper, when you listen to his interviews, for as incredibly smart as he is as a businessman, he's not necessarily a people person.
Like he's on the spectrum.
Yeah. So to me, it really kind of benefits to have that woman's touch and to have her being a part of this whole thing, man. And I think things like this kind of show that effort a little bit, and you know how important she has been to us. And hey, shout out all the ladies in Panther Nation, man. We wouldn't be able to do this without y'all as well. And listen to this. White Chocolate says, my cousin was a firefighter, had to give CPR on the guy. He had to break his ribs.
Yeah, it's a thing. Man. You know, there was, I remember at one point, because litigation has like ruined the planet,
right?
Is that at some point someone was saying that like it was like, do people make business decisions and worried about getting sued and trying to help people?
100%.
I think, I think what this story does bring to light, maybe the DeMar Hamlin story more than us with CPR training, which is, you know, it's a nice, hey, look, it's a cool thing. This is like what the Panthers are supposed to use their power for, is like raising awareness. You know, they got a big reach. So these things, they could be for show, but that show has us thinking and talking about it, and I'm sure got some donations for the American Heart Association. But I do think this has to do with like what we're probably talking about is having the right resources for sports teams, like having the best things, like having these, you know, doctors and things. And what maybe it's not on the NFL level, but like you guys brought up, like high school players. There was in my town, Greenville, North Carolina, in the late 90s, early 2000s, J.H. Rose won something like 5 state championships. They're a really strong football program for a while. They had a player who died of a concussion on the field. They did a documentary about it. Now he had suffered a concussion like earlier in the week or something, and then got and this kid died, and it was a big, I mean, obviously it's a tragedy, but a lot of people first, the guy that was the sports doctor, or their not sports doctor, their trainer. There's a lot of questions about how qualified he was, right, to be a medical trainer. I mean, look, the guy ran, when I was in high school, he ran detention, right? Like when we were late for class and stuff, it was him that I had to go to, like, in a way, he ended up killing himself later. And some
God damn, that story took a left turn.
Well, like, I mean, because
he killed himself.
Well, he got a lot of criticism, like he was the reason this kid died, that he didn't know what he was doing. You know what I mean? And so really what this does is just bring to light the need for the adequate trained people and resources at every level. And we know at the NFL, they've got the money and the resources to do it. But there's a lot of other places that we might need to give this consideration.
Yeah. So, so this is, I wanted to highlight a couple comments from Pac MD, who added some stuff on this. Great topic of conversation. Pac MD says, as a former paramedic and now doctor, please get CPR certified. It could be the difference between saving a life. And he also says you cannot be sued for doing CPR on a person going in cardiac arrest.
Nice.
Good Samaritan law protects you. So I actually had no idea about that.
This
so
is good.
You,
see, now we have these conversations and it helps us eliminate some of the fog around these discussions.
Yeah, right. That's why we love these discussions. Even our very own Panther Pickle, he says, I've given CPR many times years ago, working as a CNA and as a at a hospital and volunteering as an EMT on an ambulance. So, hey, man, look, we have every opinion accounted for amongst C3 Nation, dude. We have the best fans. And, hey, no, that's a great.
Did we have super chats or did we already cover?
Oh, no. You're right. Well, you're 100% correct. Let me cue.
By the way, 80% of our revenue from the show comes from donations and fan support. So thank you very much. Is that while we do get a little bit for views and things on YouTube, it's not as awesome as like Mr. Beast. So we are a community that's supporting each other.
Absolutely. White Chocolate Espresso with the $1.99 says, y'all need models for the C3 clothing line? No, Kevin. You can't. Yeah, fine. Whatever. You can do it, dude. I don't care. C3 Anthony Piccarello says, join the C3 gang members.
Was he the first one that did it?
It was him, Chad Morales.
And then D's?
Him, Chad Morales, D's. We had a few people. Dude, now there's a bunch of people on Twitter.
Bro.
Dude, there's at least like 7 or 8 people on Twitter right now.
I love it.
C3 in their name, dude. And more people keep popping up, dude. So I'm loving it. We have, dude, I don't care. We have the best fans, man. The best fans congregate around the C3 Panthers podcast, baby. Let's jump into this next topic of discussion. Renovations at Bank of America Stadium. Panthers Stadium news due to years of development over the surface. Lots in Uptown. The Panthers are planning major renovations to Bank of America Stadium in order to increase available parking.
Interesting.
Funny picture here.
I tell you, that is, gosh, it's just like, let's spend $70 million or $5 billion, whatever they're going to spend, only to, in a year and a half, we get one winning season. And then it's like, we're going to need a new stadium. We're going to need a new stadium. The one thing I like about this, the more they invest into this particular facility, though, means the better the chances are at staying in downtown or uptown Charlotte. And I think that's such a cool aspect of our stadium. I've heard so many nightmare stories. Look, I'm going to tell you this, is that I think it's the NFL has kind of run the risk of kind of outpricing its constituents. You know, is that as it becomes such an expensive endeavor to, I give kudos to all these people that have season tickets and do all of this, is that it's just so it's a lot of financial commitment. Yeah. But for someone from a lot of us, the three of us don't live, Greg lives the closest out of the bunch that's not in Charlotte. But it is a 5, by the end, it's like a 4.5 hour haul from my house. You've got to spend money either on hotels or stay with friends, and you're eating, you're doing all of this. It is always not just the ticket that is the cost. But I will tell you, I have heard nightmares about people with Dallas, and they say it's like $250 to park there or something like that. I mean, because it's like far away, and then you can't, like, there's a cab line that you have to, like, it's just like, God, it's just so expensive. So look, last week we talked about the raising of ticket prices, maybe just $6, but everything's going up. Everything is going up. And I tell you, we're going to talk just a moment about, actually, we'll just go ahead and move into it. You guys, what do you think about the need for renovations to Bank of America? Crazy. The stadium's only 25 years old. They're like, oh, it's decrepit. My house is older than that stadium, and I love it.
I mean, yeah, I said the last a week ago, dude, we're going to be hearing about David Tepper wanting a new stadium in no time flat, dude. Yeah, these renovations be damned. They're going to get a new stadium. They're already looking at plots of land around Charlotte to be able to put a brand new stadium. And it's something that's going to happen, man. That's the name of the game, especially if the Carolina Panthers do finally start to, become a good team and continue to build up in the right direction. Now we have this number one pick in the draft, and it's really the excitement has never been higher than it is right now.
I want to just jump ahead since we're talking about the costs and the investment and the team. Let's go to the story that I'm bringing up here. Let's go ahead and pull it up. This is on the Chamber, I think it's called chamber.com. It's a newer website. It's a long form discussion about power in place in North Carolina. They are not a NFL. They're not a sports thing. This is a journalism heavy hidden thing. And this was a comparison. It's an interesting thing. I'm going to try to get this guy on the show. I think Eric Frederick wrote this piece, Why the Canes Are Hot and the Panthers Are Not. And what he said is this: he was just interested in the way these ownerships, two owners, kind of either came into this moment and kind of how they've tackled it, some of the similarities and differences. He starts out in the subtitle. It says, look, two out-of-state wealthy businessmen each brought major league sports franchises in North Carolina in 2018. The two franchises have moved in different directions since then. What's interesting is both of these guys also share a very similar story of kind of the rags to riches, the regular guy, right, to the big deal. And ultimately, there's only two things I really suggest giving this a read. It's really neat. It's not a like the end all be all of how to look at this, but I just think it brings up some interesting points. One of the things, though, is that both of these guys, Dundon bought a team that was in shambles at the time, hadn't made the playoffs in like 8 or 12 years. Attendance was at an all-time low. On the other hand, David Tepper bought a team that had been 3 years removed from the Super Bowl, had a bunch of names, big-time names, when it came to name recognition. And one of the things that was interesting about this is it says Forbes assigned sports teams a score that's a ratio of victories per salary dollar with the league average that's set at 100. The Hurricanes' score last season was 121, meaning they got 21% more wins for every dollar they paid their players than the league average. On the other hand, the Panthers score was 59. This story would be far different if the Panthers were just winning. Right. Is that the Hurricanes have been winning. But I just thought this was the real thing that stuck out to me. And now that we bring up the renovations, this is why I wanted to kind of, pivot towards this. David Tepper has really, while he tried to be a fan favorite early on, you really see that gritty desire to make money in the background, right? Is at every turn, this is really looked at to me as an investment on him. And one of the areas that I could see this in, where I thought was interesting, the Hurricanes are kind of cutting edge when it comes to the social media game. He wanted the Hurricanes to be talked about. That's why they got the bunch of jerks, right? You remember they would celebrate these wins. They have the storm surge. They are really appealed to fans. It's a very fun experience. They have generated going to these Hurricane games. It's really for North Carolina that does not have a hockey culture. It's really important. It's really cool. On the other hand, I think that we found that the Panthers, I don't know if I won't say that they have been bad at this, but they just haven't won in these areas. And one of those is Tom Dundon came in there right away, lowered ticket prices. He said, we got to get people in these stands. They made $5 storm brews. They made the beverage, and maybe this is just the benefit and the luxury of the NFL. They can do whatever they want. You know what I'm saying? We're still going to go. We're still going to watch. We're still going to pay. But look at
If
this.
we won't, the opposing teams will.
Right. Oh, good point. The Hurricanes, the brand, is now worth $75 million. The brand, not the team. 11.7% of the team's value of $640 million. The team value is up 52% since Dundon arrived. Panthers brand is worth much more, $170 million. But that's a 4.7% of the franchise value at 3.6, nearly 3/4 of which comes from revenue shared by the NFL and media rights. Despite the team's struggles, the franchise is still worth 50% more than when Tepper bought it. Ranks 39th globally among sports franchises. Cool article to read here.
And if the Panthers ever do get good, we're going to destroy all of that. You know what I mean?
But they're also, guess what's going to go up? Everything.
The prices. And look, without question. But I think also with the Hurricanes, and again, dude, I am by no means an expert on hockey or when they were adopted in or whatever. But I think, with the Carolina Panthers, you're trying to get people to become fans. But I think that, when they dropped the prices on the Canes and made all these other drinks, like it's the cost of customer acquisition. You're trying to make more people into Canes fans earlier in their existence. And I think that's a part of what goes into this as well.
What do you mean earlier than in their existence, though? Both of these teams were started as expansion franchises roughly within 2 years of each other. So both are relatively new.
Again, like I said, I mean, I don't know what the fan base is like for the Hurricanes. I know there's a bunch of fans, but
it's hard. Look, this is not hockey country, bro.
Right,
let's just put it that way.
About to say. Hockey in the Southeast is something that people are still kind of getting used to. Remember, at one point in time, the Atlanta had the Thrashers, and then that team was never good or whatever, and they ended up moving that team somewhere different. So to me,
it is. I mean, that's a good point. It might be a little apples and oranges. Look, the NFL is a behemoth. I guess my point here is this: is that the NFL has the luxury to not care about any of this. Like they don't even. He doesn't have to make it a cool experience. He doesn't have. What I do like about what Dundon did is, and I think this is a cool model, is sometimes what if we don't just try to make the most money on every single thing, but we just try to make money. And one of the reasons that I would point this out is, do you remember when the Panthers were doing the Ron Rivera shirts? He had a different shirt every week and they would go to sell them. Why is it necessary to sell that shirt for $45? Right? Is that you are the one that has the luxury of bulk sales and value. Why can't you in a time just say, instead of making $9 profit, let's make $6 and sell 60 more or 60,000 more or something? Yeah. It just really feels like this is that the NFL is among those people that they are so uber successful. It's such a powerful force that they don't have to really care.
No, I mean that's why you buy an NFL team, dude, because they're getting ready to pour money in your coffers. Go ahead, Greg.
I'll say, Tony, you're asking the question. That's what's wrong with America right now, right? Like, why does Google and Walmart have to lay off so many employees? Why can't the bigwigs just take a little less money, just a little less money? Then you don't have to lay anybody off. But that's the way That's the way the world works, man.
I know.
And just to be fair, didn't those Ron Rivera shirts? I believe also a portion of those went to charity as well.
Yeah, they
so
did.
So that was also why you.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
No, but your point. No, I'm not disagreeing with you. Your point is 100% valid.
My friend brought this up to me one time. I was in the grocery store with him. We were going and buying food to cook out or something, and they did that. Do you want to round up for 47 cents? You want to give it to this? He said, don't do that shit. I was like, what do you mean don't do that? It's just 40. You know what I mean? It's like, this is the easiest thing I can do. He said, they're the ones getting the tax break for the donation. So it's like they take your money, then donate it, and then use it as a tax break to do all this. And that is it's like fake. So it's like, if you really want to donate to these organizations, don't make us do it. You do it, David Tepper. You got $1 billion. And I mean, look, it's like, I'm always to the point. And look, I understand there's a lot of different people with a lot of different positions in America. I respect them all. I really do. And I think that The truth usually lies in the middle. But I always say this is where I think it's like, why is it? I mean, like the people with the most cry the loudest sometimes. And wham. And I was in the car with some people that were very specific on their political views, my uncle and some different things for like 9 hours. I did very good. I did very good now. It's like I mean, as I'm getting older, I'm trying to be more respectful of just opinions and like I'm not going to change people's minds as much. But I did say this is like we were talking about inflation and some different things. I want to go for and they were like, you know, I mean, it was all market factors. I was like, yeah, those are some cases. There's some real truth to why things are going that way. But it's also interesting when you see companies thriving more than ever in these moments. And you wonder how much is real. And I was like, look, Walmart had record profits. And they were like, no, Walmart's struggling. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I read an article that they were closing some stores. Bro, they made $800 billion in profit or something last year or some shit like that. He's like, the operating costs are going up. Yes, but they're so anyway. Donate. Donate, David Tepper, your own damn money to the American Heart Association. Don't use our donations as your tax write-off. Folks, don't be conned in to giving Food Lion 37 cents. Just go make a $10 donation to that place yourself, and you get the tax write-off.
Hey, Tony with the wisdom. Gots to love it. Next up, we're going to talk about Adam Thielen. Hey, man, he is showing that Panther love. He has a silver helmet, the blue cleats, and he was out there getting some work in on the field. I wanted to share this video because people were sharing it and basically saying that Adam Thielen's out here looking slow. I can't go full screen with Instagram, so I hope everyone can see this. But is Adam Thielen moving slow? And should we be worried that maybe he's lost a step?
I mean,
again, apologies, is a little hard to see, but
it's not hard to see.
I mean, it's hard to say he's moving slow with nobody covering him and nobody and also no NFL quarterback throwing to him. This is all hype. I think this is
he's not. Look, he's not a speedster, guys. It's not like I mean, what do you think? He's 24 years old. Is like, he's a big body receiver. He's not meant to. And like, does he look like he can't run? No, it looks fine. I will say, you know what the most suspicious part about all of this is how hard in the paint he is going about being a Panthers player already. And you're like, wait a second. Why are you so interested in getting us to love you before you even played a game? That's the suspicious part to me. Now I'm like, oh God, what's going on here? Maybe he can't run.
White Chocolate says he's jogging. T. Thompson says, he's moving slow. I can lock that up. But again, listen, like, I don't know why we're like, they're in the off season. You know, it takes a long time to get into football shape. You know, it really does. When you have an off season, you're not preparing like you are every week, you know, in and out of the practice facility.
He is.
I mean,
he's known for that. He's known for being in peak shape. But speed, that super explosive speed, that's a thing for the young people, right? That really diminishes. I mean, that is a biological component, that explosive athletic thing. That's why running backs, it's not just the reps and the hits. It's that type of body frame slows down as they get older. But here's the thing, is there have been a lot of players. My last point on this is there are a lot of players in the league who have made a living late into their careers by being a savvy veteran with great hands, this type of thing. And there's been a lot of players in the league who have been fast as shit, who have done nothing.
Yeah, and also my point is Adam Thielen is not meant to be the speedster on our team.
Right.
The reason why you signed him is for this right here, and the Lucid Proximity in the chat put this up before I even had the chance to put the graphics up. The lowest drop percentage in the NFL, he is number 3 at 1.9%. Okay, all the burners for the Carolina Panthers, that's going to be Terrence Marshall Jr. and DJ Chark. Okay, those are going to be the guys for Carolina that's going to take the top off of a defense. But when you need a dependable guy going across the middle that can run clean routes and always comes down with the football, that's who Adam Thielen is to the Carolina Panthers. So again, it's knowing what he brings to the table. And I agree
He had
with you,
12
Tony.
touchdowns last year, dude. 12
Yeah,
touchdowns.
dude,
He's got like
guy's
more
a baller.
touchdowns in one season than DJ Moore has in his career.
Right.
Yeah, the dude's a baller. It's all about knowing what he brings to the table. Speed is not what he brings to the table.
I got to
but the
call
man
out.
absolutely catches everything.
I got to call out. Go to the next comment. I'm going to call out Ryan Murphy. Ryan, it's not true. He said, I'm 38 beer fat. I run that route exactly like that. Look, let me tell you why that's not true. I got real life experience on this. When I was 38, I was getting to the worst shape of my life, but I made a commitment over the last 2 years, maybe 39 to 41 now. I'm arguably in the best shape of my adult life, like physical. But when you start to feel good about yourself physically, when you feel bad, I didn't realize how bad I felt about myself physically until I started to feel better.
Yep.
Not like I was like in the mirror going, oh, yep. I didn't know. I wasn't like, oh, I don't feel great about myself. But all of a sudden, when you are like, oh, wow. But I will tell you this, you start to feel too good about yourself. So I thought this, I said, man, I was getting in a pretty good shape. And I was like, man, I said, my son, I could beat him in a foot race. And my son was 13 at the time.
He said, you thought.
Dude, and he fucking smoked me, homie. And like I was pulling up with a hand, like right out of the gate. Like, and I was like, I didn't even complete. I was like, but I thought in my head, I was like, nope. You know what I'm saying? It was just.
I wish I could see a video.
I pulled up too, hopping. Like, oh God! I mean, and he was just like, and he was like, no, you can't beat me.
Yeah,
he's a runner too. He's a distance runner. He's not but he was in 8th grade at the time. I was like, man, I'm great. Nope.
So you had no business challenging him at all.
I learned that lesson. It looks like something you can do, but man, when you go out and do it, it's hard.
Totally different. Yeah.
I so badly wish that was on video. That way we could show to the world. That would be the funniest thing.
It was stupid. Like, I mean, I didn't even run half of I said, we're going to run from here to this book. It was probably like 50 yards. I got 10 yards into this sucker. And he was like, he's 6 foot tall already now. He's taller than me, but he's got gazelle legs. And I was like, man, I'm not in 5th grade no more.
Nope.
Tim Esther said you need to stop skipping leg day is what you need to stop doing.
We don't skip what we do total body. But you're right. But look, I'm just saying is we think in our head and it's different in practice and reality.
All right. So the final topic that we've got, and then we'll jump into some cat calls. And by the way, I want to give a big thanks to Coach P because he's been supplying some great pictures and graphics for us. The one that we're using as a background right now, you see C3 Panthers Podcast under Greg. He provided that for us. It's a great StreamYard background. But about maybe like 3 or 4 days ago, I put out a post on Twitter, and it was someone that posted CJ Stroud in a mock-up Panthers uniform, a theoretical new uniform. And it was an all-black helmet, and it had the white outline on the helmet around the Panther. And I said, this would be perfect if only we were able to get rid of the white outline and it just be our logo on a black helmet. So shout out to Coach P. He actually provided that to us on the left. This is the Panthers helmet. If we had an all-black helmet, with a white outline and without a white outline. And I think I rest my case, y'all. If I'm having to pick which one, I would prefer the pure Black Panther on the helmet. That way it's only the blue and the white of the logo
100%.
that ends up popping on the
100%.
helmet. It's minimalist. Dude, I say it like this. It's like a panther stalking you from the bushes at night. And the last thing that you see before he maws your ass is the moonlight shining down glistening on him. That's what that left one reminds me of. I love that better. I feel like it's far more minimalist, and it adds some personality and some character to the logo. But I figure, hey, let's let the boys on the podcast and the fans decide. Do you like this mock-up? And number two, if we do go to an all-black helmet, do you feel like there should be a white outline around the Panther to kind of define the shape a little bit, or none at all? Just let it go. What say you boys?
I like it without the white outline. Personally, I think it that just the white outline makes it look like it's just a damn sticker.
That's what I was thinking.
Yep.
A sticker.
100%.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, I got more questions than I think. It's wild that we've been dying for uniforms, like a uniform change. And then you put out a cool tweet about this is like, Cody, what was your tweet about it? It was like, be careful.
I said maybe we shouldn't, because there's more ways to get this wrong than there is to get it right.
Yeah. It's funny when everybody is. I almost would say this is no offense to Moss. Well, maybe when someone says no offense, but be prepared to be offended.
Well, everyone is making these new
It doesn't look like they did a cool job with putting the sticker on the helmet. It looks like it's like overlapping on the headgear. It's like a little misshaped, too big. It looks like a poor cut to Moss uniforms, about like a little janky representation. Are those whiskers on the shoulder pads?
Yeah, or either that
blades.
or it's claws.
Claws?
Yeah.
My final question is this, and I don't know if I would like it. If you went to something like this, is there an alternate jersey where you, instead of doing the number in white, that you do it in silver or gray?
I mean, maybe
That could look good, yeah.
Kind of dull everything down and let the blue be the pop.
Just like we have a bunch of different colors now with our uniforms, I also think that you would be able to do a bunch of different ones.
Right.
And yeah, Tony, even though I did say that, yeah, there are more ways to get it wrong, I feel like there are some cool ways to get this right. And I feel like if we had a legit, really good uniform designer that could work on these things and take some of these ideas and implement them, I think it would be incredible. By the way, most of the chat room seems to agree with me. Leave the white outline out of it.
Yeah, I agree 100.
You still see the Panther, and it adds personality, man. The fact that our logo is a little bit hidden. It's not hidden enough to not see it, but to me, it adds a little bit of personality, a little bit of oomph, and I just like that, man. I think that would be incredible, especially if we had the all black helmets. And that actually is
I want to bring this up.
Yeah.
This question, I think this kind of relates to this. I want to get y'all's opinion. I wonder if this is not the same hat. This is why I like my hat right now, is it doesn't have the full Panther face. It's just like got some of it that and see it. Out of these three hats, I'm thinking about buying this one. Do you guys like the all black one? I think this is kind of fly, where you get to wear your Panthers gear out, but you always don't have to only wear the blue. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could wear this with anything.
I'd wear
what do you
that
guys
or the
think?
all white.
I like this one. Yeah, I don't like this one. I don't like the white one.
Yeah, honestly, I'd do the black or the white one, to be honest with you. You could wear it with anything. I agree.
Yeah, I like this.
I like the colors so much of our team that I want them to be on display. I like the one in the middle. I like the entirety
I've got 70 of those hats, dude.
I like the entirety of our logo on the black back. Well, send me one.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I mean, I got a lot. I love hats. I buy hats all the time. The thing with the white, though, in the colors, Greg, is that one time I used to be a skater in high school, right? And in the 90s, skaters, we wore big-ass jeans like that. We just destroyed. Yeah, Janko jeans, all of this, yeah. And I had this great pair of black jeans I loved, right? I used to skate in all the time. I mauled these suckers up, and I was like I was sewing them up. And I was going to sew them. I was like, man, I'm going to use orange thread. This will be cool, And my cousin goes, no. And he was older than me. He's like, you got to use navy blue. I was like, navy blue? He said, it looks like you tried to match it, but you didn't have black. Like you were trying, but so you just got close. So you're trying to be subtle with your hipness, instead of over the top.
Right.
You know what we used to call rollerbladers in my middle school?
What's that?
Fruit booters.
Fruit booters. People that can't skateboard.
Yeah,
That's the thing. It's like,
White Chocolate says Tony couldn't kickflip.
No, I couldn't. No, I was a street skater. As I played hockey, roller hockey. I was like, but I could grind some rails. I could do some, but man, your bones were not brittle then. You fell and you didn't break. When you broke your bones didn't break. They just bent a little.
Dude, I'm afraid
to skate like a mug, dude.
I'm afraid to walk downstairs with just out of fear of breaking an ankle, dude. Like I used to skate as well in high school. I used to be a skateboarder. And man, I like the fearlessness you have to have for stuff like that. It is completely different.
Dummies we were. What fucking idiots we were. We're reckless, man. But that's why. But our brains hadn't developed. This is why This is why you have to be 21 to drink beer, but you only have to be 18 to go into the military, because you need idiots that are willing to run at bullets.
True.
Your frontal cortex is not developed yet. You're like, oh, I could do this. You know, we used to do. Or our other thing was is I don't wear pads because I got to be cool. What kind of dummy, man? Put them knee pads under your jeans and save your life later on.
Yeah, when they bust their kneecaps on a curve.
We had a big culture of this stuff in our town, though. Greenville's a big place, particularly for BMX bikers. Dave Mirror and like 5 or 6 of the biggest professional bikers in the world are from Greenville, North Carolina, and the skate park and all that they built. Another guy who committed suicide anyway. Rest in peace. Yeah. In Greenville, in my town. Also wouldn't give me a ride one time when my car broke down at the skate park. And I had to walk to a payphone. This is back in the day where we did not have cell phones. All right, what do we got? Is that it? And then we go to the cat calls?
Damn, you're old as fuck, Tony Dunn. No,
dude, I rocked with in my high. We had pagers, bro. That's what we fucked with.
Hell
if you were cool, you had a pager.
Hell yeah, I had pagers.
Yo, bro, tell me what it was like when the stock market crashed in the 1920s or something, dude.
No, but I could tell you what it was like in 1999 and 2008.
All right,
hey, you want to know the crazy? How about here? I'll give you one crazy.
I was just calling you old as fuck. It's funny,
I know.
Dude.
Here's one crazy old people story.
Baby, so I like.
I know. No, I love it. I love it. One good crazy old people story. There was a panic and a fear in 1999 that computers would not know how to deal with 2000.
Yeah, the Y2K bug. I remember that.
Like,
dude, I was 10 years old. Everybody thought the world was about to end, dude.
Why did we even think
all
this?
All of the
binary code.
No, all of the internal clocks on computers at that time, they weren't programmed to go to the year 2000. So everybody was afraid that once it struck midnight, that all the computer systems around the world would crash, that GPSs would go offline, all this other different kind of crap, man. But
Prince telling us to party like it was 1999. Oh, the 90s. I've read this book, and again, we're chasing squirrels. We're going to cat calls. It's about how you form political beliefs in the world, and they say that a lot of your political beliefs are formed in your most formative years, in your teenage years, about events. So and it affects your long-term voting pattern. They cite people that were born particularly between 1950 and 1952. They came into politics in 1968, which was the wildest kind of year in American history in some ways, from Martin Luther King's assassination, Robert Kennedy's. Like, it was a wild, and this really shaped them, because when you're a teenager is when you're really starting to find these views. It turns out people that are born in 1981 and 1982, we lived in the coolest fucking time. There are 0 bad things that happened to us in the 90s. Like, it was a cool time. There was like no worries. No fucking worries, man. It was the next generation that had to deal with 9/11. I was in college by that point. Like, the worst thing we had was a president getting a Hummer in the damn That's the most controversial thing.
Yeah,
The most we lived.
Storm, to be fair, but
And also,
that
by
was
the
a
way,
little bit
and I
before though.
also just say-
91. I was 11, so I wasn't in my I was between. They were saying this as you form your political beliefs between about 15 and 19. Like not your political beliefs, but the moments.
Yeah,
and
but I
between my
also
years
feel
of
like you
15 and
change
19,
your
all we did is fucking.
party and shit. But I also feel like between 15 and 19, you might form them. But like after 35, that's when everybody tends to kind of get more conservative in their
Right.
leanings or
Sure.
whatever. But
Winston
hey, look,
Churchill said this. Winston Churchill said, if you are in your 20s and you're not a liberal, you don't have a soul. If you're in your 30s and you're not a conservative, you don't have a brain.
I've heard this before. But hey, this is not a political podcast. We are a Panthers podcast. And you know what we do? We listen to the voices and opinions of those in our cat calls. If you would like to participate, the number is 252-228-5090. Hey, by the way, Tony, another underrated aspect of the 1990s, the music, man, the fucking best music in the world, dude. You know it and love it. Let's jump into the cat call.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Sorry, man. Damn, Google just made me verify my
account. It's JJ calling back, and I'm going to shy away from all the draft and the quarterbacks and all that today in my call. I want to talk about Brian Burns, really, just because, I'm always going back and forth when I think about him. One day I'm like Cody, where it's like he doesn't have the help around him like all these other great pass rushers do. And then the other day I'm like Tony, to where I'm like, no, man. Why are we never sitting here saying we won this football game? Because Brian Burns was the best player on the football field and was just dominant on the defensive side. And we always heard his name every defensive possession. And what really hit me was that Sunday night football game this past season between the Giants and Washington, where the rookie for the Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau, had a forced fumble sack in the beginning of the game, returned it for a touchdown. He had a few tackle for losses. You heard his name called 2 to 3 times every defensive possession. And while he may not have did that every single game for them, he had a game where you can definitively say, not even as Giants fans, everyone who watched that game said he was the best player on the football field and was the reason they won that game. And it feels like we're about to go into year 5, and Brian Burns, as a pass rusher, has yet to do that and take over. He's always been consistent, been really great, but he hasn't been elite. And sometimes when we're going to pay this guy that elite money, he's probably the 5th best defensive end, not including outside linebackers or pass rushers. But tell me how y'all feel about that and Brian Burns. Again, going into the season, whether y'all want to extend him before the season or after. How do y'all feel he's going to perform this season with our new defensive coordinator? What are the stats, all of that? You think he'll be good in coverage? I think he's really good in coverage, honestly. But yeah,
didn't we complain about him though last year? Didn't we complain about how they used him is that he is your best pass rusher and they were dropping him back into coverage last year?
Well, I feel like that was a discussion point under Ron Rivera. I don't know.
No, last year.
I know we did see that a little bit last year, but I don't know if it was a significant portion to where we were criticizing people.
So, by the way, MDJ365 said his cat call is similar to this. And no, this does bring up a good question. And I'll go first here and say that I feel like every side of this argument has a little bit of truth to it.
Yeah.
So if you fall into the camp where you don't feel like Brian Burns has proved himself to be a top tier, upper echelon defensive end, you have evidence to support that fact.
Right.
It's, kind of like how JJ just said. And a lot of people feel like he hasn't become that absolutely dominant take over a football game or even win you some games type of defensive end. However, I feel like a lot of the opposing arguments are also true. He has not had a lot of help. He has gotten better every single year that he's been on the field. The more and more snaps he gets, the better he gets. He's still a very young player with a tremendous upside. And by the way, a lot of other people have been saying for a long time that Brian Burns is playing out of position as a 4-3 defensive end as opposed to a 3-4 outside linebacker. I wish that we could.
But then you better pay him before the season, then before he goes off or something.
And that was so. I really do wish that we could have gotten to see a little bit of Brian Burns as that pure 3-4 outside linebacker, but we're not. And more than likely, before the start of the NFL season, we're going to be talking about a brand new Brian Burns contract. So up here on the screen, I have the highest paid edge defenders in the NFL. And what is a fair number for Brian Burns if we're going to sign him? Top 5. So Bradley Chubb is at $22 million per year, and he's the number 6 highest paid in the NFL. So where's Brian Burns going to come in at?
Well, here's the thing, though, is it's kind of this is like when you just compare it to current salaries. The problem is that salaries inflate every year. So is that is you can't be like, well, he shouldn't be the highest paid or this and that because they signed their contract at a different time. Right. So automatically, that's kind of like the quarterback argument.
To reset it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know if he's got to be the highest paid. I think this is, to me, Brian Burns is very much like DJ Moore. He is a very, very good player, but not the most dominant person I've ever seen in my life. And somebody I'd rather have on my team than not have on my team. And this is going to sound like an odd comparison because the playing style is zero alike for Brian Burns. But I think he kind of means a kind of what Charles Johnson meant to us at one point. And not that look, they called Charles Johnson Big Money. That was his nickname, homie. That's got to be the coolest motherfucking nickname in the world because we paid Charles Johnson, but we had to. Julius Peppers was moving on. Mm-hmm. And he was a very good player. So it was like this. It's like, is Brian Burns, all my argument has been is that Burns is not the top of the top in the league.
Right.
Right. Is that just like DJ Moore isn't. And I understand they haven't had the best of circumstances, but at the end of the day, if we got the first overall pick and you're picking teams, I feel like you're picking Justin Jefferson over DJ Moore. I feel like, it's just like heads up is that they are very good players. Big money Charles Johnson was a very good player. And I tell you what, he earned every dollar of his contract. And I think if we pay Brian Burns, this is just going to be one of those things is that he's going to get paid and we're going to probably quibble about whether it was too much or too little or whatever it was. But he'll probably earn every dollar of it. He's been very available. Availability is a big thing. He's been consistent.
Yeah.
Sure. And one thing
better every year.
G Baby and his brother fighting.
His brother is not a fan of G Baby. And by the way, to everybody that follows G Baby on Twitter, I'm 100% to blame for that. Because I'm like, gee, all you want to do is argue. Why aren't you on Twitter? It's kind of the place to be if you want to argue about Panthers all the time.
And they don't get to know him, and it's like G Baby Express.
Yeah, dude. I'm kind of responsible for the monster that is G Baby on Twitter. But I guess I'll take responsibility for it. But Greg, CK, I want to get you guys in on this conversation. Sure. What do you think is a fair ballpark number for Brian Burns when we sign him to a new contract?
I mean, I hate to say it, but I think he's still going to reset the market, especially if it's, I don't know. None of the defensive ends got a big contract this year, right? None of the considered the better ones, right?
Well, I do think Nick Bosa, because him and Nick Bosa were in the same draft class. And I wonder if this is a situation where Burns and Bosa want the other guy to get
Yes,
paid
that's
first.
exactly what it is. No, that is exactly what it is. Is that if Nick Bosa gets a big one, that's going to help Brian Burns. And if Brian Burns gets a big one,
that's going to destroy.
It's going to fucking catapult him. Because look, is that you got to honestly just real across the board. Who would you see? Who would you pay more, Nick Bosa or Brian Burns?
Sorry, it's Nick Bosa. Yeah.
It pains me to say, but Nick, I mean, how about that? Nick Bosa might be the best defensive end in all of football.
Is he the 49ers?
Yeah.
Did you see there's a story floating around, you can find it on Reddit. They have something like $260 million invested in the defensive line. They're the second most. I think it's them and the Eagles pay their defensive linemen like.
Yeah, but their defense will kick their fucking ass.
Yeah. It's like Ron Rivera's fucking hard on.
Yeah, and that's why they really needed Trey Lance to work out, because they can't afford to pay offensive weapons very well with the amount of money they're spending on that defense. And I'm not sure how they're going to be able to maintain keeping Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel over there in that offense when they're paying that defense like that, and the amount of money they're about to have to pay to Nick Bosa. I was at that 49ers game, and I'm telling you, Nick Bosa looked like you would draw out a superhero.
And then he got hurt, and that was actually what helped us, right? Didn't he get hurt in that game? And that's what helped us tremendously.
Yeah, he got hurt in that game. I don't think it helped us tremendously. We still got our ass whooped pretty good on that one, but I mean, he did get hurt. It was him and Jaycee Horn both got hurt in that game. But yeah, I say that to say, like, the dude's just, his body type is just unbelievable. It's just fake, dude. Like Cody said, it's a created character.
I think we're gonna have to pay Burns. This is kind of like big money. Did big money deserve the biggest contract at that moment? Probably. I mean, you know what? It's like, but the thing is you are what you get paid. And you're gonna need Brian Burns. He's an important part of our defense, and we're not ready, especially making some of these aggressive moves. We can't have our defense regress so far.
Well, and you still need another defensive end coming out of this year's draft. Like,
he's arguably the best defensive player on the team.
We said that, Tony. We said this last year. To me, it's not even arguable, but he is the best defensive player.
I was about to say, yeah.
I thought some people would say Horn. Some people would say Chin.
This is the fair opinion. To me, it's Burns over Chin. But until Jaycee Horn overcomes the quote-unquote injury bug,
he's just potential.
I can't put Horn over Brian Burns. Brian Burns is probably the very best player on the entire team, not even just the defense. Like, he's that kind of a player.
Oh, that's a great question. Go ahead.
Yeah, but no, but like, when it comes to this discussion,
good poll right there.
The Panthers made the decision that they were going to pay Brian Burns when they decided to not trade him in the middle of the season last year to the Los Angeles Rams for some future number one draft picks. So at that point in time,
I felt like we should have done this deal last year, guys. I've always been the guy that's get ahead of this. Look, a lot of people were upset that we signed Cam at one point for the money we did, and at the time, it felt like a lot. We got a good deal on him, and then when the inflation hits, you don't get caught up in it. And the worst time to pay people is when you don't have another choice.
Right.
So it's better to pay them to when they get the leverage. I think we should have done this deal last year.
So
been ahead of the curve.
I kind of agree with you. Vol guy says him and Max Crosby are comparable. Somebody says Frankie Louvu. I love Frankie Louvu. I don't know if I can call him the best player on our team or even the best player on our defense. Like, he's a fan
favorite right now.
Yeah, he's a fan favorite, but there's no way that you can say Frankie Louvu is more important to the Panthers defense than Brian Burns.
No, I think you're right. I think it's Brian Burns. I think you're right. I can't even think. And now I'm wondering, is he the best player on the team?
He is.
I think he might be right.
Everyone else is too young. Like, maybe it came at corner one day, but he was a rookie last year. Taylor
Derek Brown is really stepping up.
Nah, but I would still put Burns over Derek Brown, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. I think you're right. Now that I think about it, I don't know a player. And to be honest, I would probably still put Burns as the best if we still had DJ.
Oh, agreed. I don't think it's. I don't even know that I would say that's a question.
Wow.
What about CMC?
No, I would not say that. But then you would say but the argument would be is availability is your best ability.
I mean, if CMC had stayed on the team, I think it would be hard to argue that he would have been. I think him and Brian Burns would have probably been kind of shoulder to shoulder. Because, I mean, last year...
When healthy, CMC is the best running back in the NFL.
But even last year, that's not even true, dude. Like, I mean...
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Not, he was on our team for the majority of the season, for a good portion of the season last year, and he did not perform well. Now, I know you can point to other things as being the reason behind that, but our
whole team was bad. We were fucking... okay, I mean, like, who is the best running back? I think he is the best. Like,
but that same argument applies to Brian Burns, Tony.
No, I don't think he's the best defensive end in the league.
No, I mean, right, but...
You could say top 5, and you know what? I might concede.
So you're saying maybe CMC is the best running back in the league?
When he's healthy, I think he is the best running back in the NFL.
Here's what I'll say, and my argument against that is he had one season of just incredible basically performance, right? He had a good he was a good player last year, but by no means did he outperform a Nick Chubb.
I think Nick Chubb is, I agree with that. Is that, that's the one person I would say is the most underrated running back and arguably the best running back in the league is Nick Chubb. But I just want to put this out. I didn't want us to draft Christian McCaffrey. Right. I wanted Leonard Fournette.
Me too.
I thought Leonard Fournette was going to be like Bo Jackson or something. And so what I'm trying to say, I conceded that Christian McCaffrey is a special player.
Right.
Like I got a lesson taught to me on that. I think what I would argue is it's Alvin Kamara and him at this point, but now age is starting to set in for those guys. But I don't think that Brian Burns has ever been even in the consideration for the number one defensive end in the league. There's an argument for McCaffrey being the number one.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel like because you have not seen him become the number one defensive end in the league that he isn't capable of becoming that one day?
Man, he's been in the league for a minute, bro. Mm-hmm. Like, I just think he's going to be a very, very good player. I don't know you know what? It would be awesome if he gets 16 sacks next year. Then I'll be saying he's the best fucking defensive end because Myles Garrett was just a very good player until he had that giant year, 18 sacks or whatever it was. It's all about performance and opportunity, and until then, it's excuses and potential. It's Bitcoin. It's speculation until it pays. And I think 9 sacks, 10 sacks consistently across 3 or 4 years on a defense that struggled is a good accomplishment, a very good accomplishment. I'd rather have him on my team than not, and I think you got to pay him.
Go ahead.
Look, Brian Burns is the guy that reminds me of. I think that in any given year, he could be the best defensive player that year. I don't think he's going to be a perennial top 3 player in the NFL. I think that he'll be a very good player for his entire career. He has the potential to maybe 1, maybe 2 years be the best defensive player in the league. Has the potential. Is not that guy yet.
Right.
But can get there. But I don't believe that he's going to go down as a guy that everybody remembers. No matter what team you pulled for, you knew who Brian Burns was.
I want to address this as Quibble Gabble says this is he says, you got to be kidding me talking so shitty about Burns. I don't this is, I think, is kind of problematic in the way we discourse today. Is like we have to either be all or nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying to be very I'm trying to be very complimentary of him. I want to pay him. I think it's going to, whether and you know what, who's the very guy on this podcast that gets most upset with the draft heads because they're like, oh, I would have drafted him at 18, but not at 7.
No.
Right. Like that shit bothers me. So you know what? He's going to get paid based on a number of factors. His play is part of it. the market, what's going on for the team, all of these. I'm just saying, I've seen Julius Peppers, bro.
White Chocolate says his stats are the same as Peppers and Peppers' years in the league.
That's the fucking biggest lie in the history of the world.
I think they are comparable numbers.
They're not. They are not comparable at all.
No, are you saying that because you don't want to believe it? Or
no, I promise you. Do the math. Do it. He had 12 sacks. He had 12 sacks in his rookie year. Only played 12 games.
Okay. I mean,
12 sacks, rookie year, 12 games.
I want to say this, and I'll be very short, and I'll pass the mic to CK or whoever. I'm choosing to be an optimist. So just like I said, Terrace Marshall Jr., in my opinion, has the capability of being a number one wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. I have no reason to believe that Brian Burns will not continue on the same trend that we have seen him down the past few years. At only 24 years old,
we're all agreeing.
People really don't. They underestimate the athleticism of a Brian Burns. So even though he might not have necessarily proved his worth to every single Panther fan, I'm a big believer that this year, 2023, is going to by far be the best year for Brian Spider Burns.
And isn't this a cool part about this is that the difference between 9 and 10 sacks and 13 and 15 sacks is leap years.
Yeah.
Right? Because like you come and really it does
tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, and the other thing is this is 16 sacks like Hassan Reddick had on a team that makes the NFC champ the playoff, the Super Bowl is different than 16 sacks on a team that finishes 5 and whatever. So like there are other factors that are, it's not only stats. It's kind of like this. Do you remember Blake Bortles was the best fucking fantasy quarterback in the world because he had a bazillion passing yards in the fourth quarter but he wasn't the best player. I think Brian Burns can be better. I just, and you know what? I hope he's on our team. And I said, we should have paid him last year. We're going to have to pay him this year. And you better not wait till next year because you're really going to have your ass against the wall. Let's go to the next call.
Well, hold on.
Let's get the other people.
Well, Gibble Gabble comes in with backing up White Chocolate's point. He says Peppers 40.5 sacks, Burns 37.5 through 4 years. So
look at the games. Look at the game started, dude. We first of all we played 7. He didn't get 10 sacks until we went to a 17 game season. Let's look at that, number one. But let's look at number two is the games played. 12 sacks in 12 games is different than 12 sacks in 16 games. It's just different. He missed 4 games because of a suspension to start his rookie year and then came out and was the best defensive end in the league. So yes, but if you are really in your right mind, if you what a fucking travesty it is to compare a future.
JD says impact isn't comparable, stats maybe. Yeah, so again, there is some nuance to this. They played more. They're playing more games now.
You guys didn't watch this game.
Didn't play. Early in his career, there's some points
guaranteed these bitches. No, if I didn't mean bitches like that, I didn't mean to say it like that. But like, if you weren't, did you see Peppers play? It's like being like, oh, Randy Moss was kind of good. But we got comparable numbers. No, these mugs are a different level good.
All right, let's do some more cat calls.
Yeah.
Hey, C3, this is Al the Sailor.
What's up, Al?
I just watched that Bryce Young breakdown, and I'm not seeing it. I don't like the way that his foot keeps coming up when he's throwing the ball. I said that.
He's a jump thrower.
Cody said it. I'm like, damn, Cody's still in my, because I wrote it in chat. I'm like, damn, Cody's still in my shit. But then it was fucking recorded like 2 weeks ago. So, good shit on that one, Cody. But his back foot coming up, that's not good. Brother. And then the scrambling in the pocket and the hits he's taking, he ain't going to last. He's not going to last in the NFL like that. And his throws didn't seem like, they weren't really that accurate to me. I mean, he had a couple good throws, but only good throws he had were like quick slants and quick outs or whatever you want to call it. But I don't really see it in him. I mean, I would take AR over him.
Wow.
And CJ, of course, I would say first, but he didn't really look that accurate to me. Too small. And the back foot thing, that has to get fixed. But thanks, guys, for taking my call. I'll be listening probably after you record this. So, all right. After you record the show. So, all right, guys. Have a good one.
Appreciate you, Al. I mean, listen, if Bryce Young is not going to be everybody's cup of tea, like straight up, the dude is small. I feel like he had some more big time throws in that film than my man Al gave him credit for. I don't think that he has a bigger arm than just about anyone in this draft. And that's not even to say that Bryce has a bad arm or doesn't have good arm talent. I've said I think Matt Corral has a bigger arm, just if we're talking about drive of the football, than Bryce. Now, again, that doesn't mean better player, but, you know, it's something to consider. And
we
yeah,
don't know who's going to be the better player. That's the thing, is that you never can know who will be the better player. It's just this, is that I don't know. No, you know what is that? First of all, I'm going to be happy with either of these people. Like, man, I'm just going to be happy that we confidently pick somebody. So I don't really care. I'm not going to go freak out and say this was a bad pick because he's small, right? I've heard people say, though, when you talk about quarterbacks, they're all really good at all this stuff, and you're really looking for people who are exceptional at some things. That's one argument. But at the same time, being exceptional but not being great at any, good is also happened to a lot of people. I think that Bryce Young, I hope if he comes to the Panthers, that he is super successful. I'm a little bit concerned. And you know what is that his mental toughness or confidence and all of that is impressive. Like, I saw somebody put up a clip of him and that LSU, I think it was LSU or whatever. They were like, I had to go 95 yards in a minute and 30, and he was just like smiling.
No, that was
and
Auburn.
Somebody called him and they said, this psychopath over here is smiling. Like, he's like, you know what? That actually is a trait that is in Pat Mahomes, that's in Josh Allen. These guys,
it was named Cam Newton. Remember in 2015 after that Giants game where Cam Newton
I don't know if it was the same with Cam. And I love Cam more than anything. But I look, you remember when Cam would pray before the game? He would lick his lips. And I always said we should have run the ball on first. And Joey Riolano was the one that said this. Just run the ball with Cam on the first play. I don't care if you get no yards. Just get some dirt on his jersey, and then he loosens up. He was his own critic in those. It's like he brought even more pressure. What I'm saying is this. We used to think if you got up a touchdown and you had only a minute and it was under 2 minutes, game's a wrap. You go and play Patrick Mahomes, and you got more than 40 seconds, and this motherfucker is going to fucking toast you. Tom Brady. It is an intangible quality, and that is an impressive thing. It's just, do you bet on that? I don't know. I think CJ Stroud is the guy that go with. That's who I think in my heart of hearts. That's who they're going to go with. I'm going to root for Bryce Young. I'm going to root for CJ Stroud. I'm not going to root against him. And if Bryce Young becomes a Carolina Panther, we are going to be, as someone who's 5'9 3/4, I'm fucking all in.
Yeah, we love the little guy all of a sudden. I'll also say this. I think whoever the Panthers draft is going to go to the far better situation. I think that the Panthers
that's what I think too.
Yeah, the Panthers are
I made a bet with Monty.
They're better built to have more success coming out of the gate than whoever ends up being drafted by the Houston Texans.
And you guys got to remind me of this. I made a bet with Monty, and I don't get involved in y'all's talk as much because I get angry. I get mad. Sometimes I get like, because I don't think anybody gives me any credit about knowing football sometimes. And I don't know football. I just like my team and I have the eye test.
A football fan.
Yeah. But my bet to him was this. I said, I bet you $5 CJ Stroud is the pick and it's not Bryce Young. And he didn't want to do that. He was like, I bet you $10 that Bryce Young has the better career or the better rookie season. The rookie season. I said, no, I will bet you $5 that CJ Stroud's the pick and $5 a separate bet that he has the best rookie season. Because if CJ Stroud is the Panthers pick, I think he has the best rookie year.
Yeah.
If Bryce Young is the Panthers pick, I think he has the best rookie year. But I don't necessarily think that either one of these guys going into Houston is going to be better situated for success.
Yeah.
So that's why I said they've got to be two separate bets, because I think it's going to be Stroud. But I also think if Bryce Young came to the Panthers, he will have a better year than CJ Stroud would have with the Texans.
Yeah, no doubt.
But anyway, these guys. I was in Long Island for 6 days. Oh, speaking of hockey there, and not hockey, we're not going to go off on a tangent. What's really interesting is that college sports are a non-discussion in New York. Like not interested.
Oh, dude, I know. My brother lives in Connecticut, and he's from down south, and he's like, dude, up there, especially college football, dude, there is there's no one good up there that they give a damn about.
No, like, and almost to the point where they don't even really care about college. College is just a quick way to get an advancement. But there's so many it's a really different thing. Like I was telling what I do for a living. Well, with the town I live, we're catching up with people, and it's just like not there. They're Ranger fans, a lot of them Jet fans, but they're pro sports people in the North. Let's go to the next call.
What's up, everybody? It's been a minute. I miss you boys.
What's up, dude?
I haven't been on the Friday free for all in a hot minute. I haven't been able to talk to you guys. Hope you guys are all doing well, man. It's been a minute. But hey, look, it's Monday. Cam got signed by the Lions, and let's hope to God that Jared Goff can stay fucking healthy throughout the entire year, because we play the Lions this year.
That's not real, is it?
In their home stadium. Bro,
I haven't heard that. That's news to me.
And we face fucking Cam. I don't know how the fuck I'm going to feel about that, man. It's already bad enough that I had to deal with him when all the New England fans were like, oh, we hate Cam. Let's go back to Brady. Oh, I wanted to just truck myself out an open door on the highway doing 70 whenever I would hear that crap. I'm happy for Cam. I really am. I hope that he gets the chance to at least start a game or two, and I hope that he looks competent. I really do.
Nick, you might have been the victim of an April Fool's
joke. Same thing goes for Sam Darnold. Same thing goes for CMC. I want them all to be happy and successful. Okay, but except when they play us, I hope that they get absolutely nothing. So I also haven't chimed in since the end of the season. And like you guys know, I was pretty adamant on Steve Wilkes. And at the end of the day, he literally got the best that he could have ever got. Him being the head coach in Carolina, while it would have been great, okay, I would have absolutely loved to see it happen. Okay, his floor in San Francisco is almost what, I'm not going to say what the ceiling would be here, okay, but he has basically set himself up to get a head coaching job next year or the year after, if he even wants to do that. He could want to stay in San Fran and just be the DC, because let's face it, they're stacked right now. Who wouldn't want to be a coach on that coaching staff? So I'm happy for Wilkes. I'm happy for Darnold too, because he's going to San Fran. He's going to be with Christian McCaffrey. Those two are bros. And San Fran, they aren't a slouch. So I'm happy for all of our old guys.
Yeah.
But last season was special. Just how it ended. And then every move that we've made this offseason has basically carried that magic from last.
He might have got cut off.
Yeah, he did.
So, one, yeah. Nick.
Oh wait, here, there's 50 here. Let's just play the little last bit of his call.
It cut me off. I don't know where it cut me off, but
3 minutes.
I just want to say, guys, you guys keep pounding. I can't wait to see what this season brings. If we don't go CJ Stroud, I'm going to lose my shit. If Bryce Young or AR-15 are there at 9, I am also going to lose my shit because that would just mean that we traded up for almost no reason.
No, it's not true.
Fight me. Okay.
Well, Bryce Young, yes. AR.
And by the way, Cody, I haven't been ignoring you, bro. You know how life gets. So
it's all love, brother.
All
it's
you
all
guys
good.
are doing well. CK, can't wait to see the little baby whenever she finally gets here. And Greg, keep up the conspiracy theories, man. Just
always.
Keep them up. And Tony,
always.
Well, Tony, you know the deal. Keep your head up, bro.
My man, Nick.
So talk to you guys soon. Keep pounding.
Nick, love you, buddy. Thank you for the call,
family.
man. Yeah,
this is family.
Yeah, of course, dude. He's been to my house, man. Dude, he's incredible. Sorry to inform you, Nick. You did fall victim to an April Fool's Day prank. Cam Newton has not signed with the Lions or whatever team he said he signed with. Sorry, bro, dude. Those April Fool's articles, they're
you can't look at the internet on April 1st.
So
I've been
dumb.
doing this game for a minute. Somebody texted me that story. A guy who he likes the Panthers, but it's not like. And I was like, I don't want to be rude, but I don't look at the internet today.
Yeah, dude, you're smart. That's wise. That's wisdom right there. That's
and it's the worst when you forget it's April Fools. You just wake up and your routine is to just check. That's how you get. Yeah.
If I'm the Panthers, I put out the Panthers will plan on selecting Anthony Richardson #1 in the draft, and then just let it sit there.
Let me ask you guys.
No. You gotta say Stetson Bennett.
Yeah. That's too quick.
It's too much. Yeah.
I want to ask your opinion on this. Is one of the best stories when we used to do the writing on CarolinaCatChronicles.com heavy. Like that's how this, the podcasts weren't a thing in 2013. It's like, so we leaned into the podcast because we knew that was our lane. But at one point, we were really working hard on that website. And one of the best stories in the history of our website was Ken Dye wrote this one, and I think it was Panthers trade Cam Newton, and it was an April Fool's joke. My friend, who is big into the chat GBT stuff,
yes,
he said, look, he sent me a message. He said, get her to write an April Fool's one, and I didn't do it. I didn't want to do. I don't like. I mean, I say I think they're funny, so I'm not hating on people that. Should I have done it for exposure, or it's just like, you know what, this is the one thing is if it's like let the other.
But then you run the chance of people remembering you for duping them, and whenever they see Cat Chronicles, like, nah, fuck that website, dude.
Right?
Nah, they duped
just not though. I think it's because I've fallen for it before. Yeah. I think it's because I've truly fallen for it. That I'm like, I don't like this shit no more. Not like, I mean, it's not a dislike. I'm not trying to shit on people who do. Did I make the right decision, chat, in not putting up an April Fool's post on the website?
Yes, you did.
Thank you. All right. Anything else? Can we go to the next call?
Yeah, do it.
Podcast brothers, how y'all doing? G Cavassier. Hey, man. You know that I like CJ Stroud being the #1 pick, but I'm going to be honest with y'all gentlemen tonight, y'all. I got a feeling we're going to take Bryce Young. I really, really, really do. Something is telling me we're going to take him with the #1 pick. And I know that the fan base, some of us are going to be pissed off and mad and everything like that. To see my opinion, either or, we're going to be okay. But I really see the Panthers drafting Bryce Young with the #1 pick. I mean, I looked at that dude's highlights, man. That dude is a fucking magician behind that damn line, man.
He is.
And I know a lot of people saying, he'll get his balls batted down and everything like that, but people realize them offensive linemen in Alabama, they weren't 5'7", 5'8". some big ass boys. A lot of them dudes are like 6'5", 6'6", big ass offensive linemen, 6'3" or whatever, you know. And just to end it like this, people complain about his height because I was one of them. I'm gonna be truthful about that. Steve Smith was short too. Y'all remember Steve Smith, the greatest fucking Panthers wide receiver of all time. I don't care what nobody says. I'm 6 foot, okay? I am 6 foot even. I'm taller than Steve Smith. And Bryce Young, they saying he's like 5'10". Y'all know Russell Wilson was 5'11". Every now and then they say he's 6 foot. He's 5'11". Russell Wilson was 1 inch taller than Bryce Young. So everybody need to calm down. And I'm really getting sick and tired of talking about this every day. But hey, we're Panthers fans. You know what I'm saying?
Gotta talk about it.
Look, I am understanding where people are coming from to a certain extent with this whole defending the defense, the height thing. But I am getting so sick and tired of everybody pulling out these anomalies, the Russell Wilsons and the Drew Brees. Why don't we show
none
the
of
stats?
Those were drafted number 1 overall, by the way.
Exactly. Why don't we show the stats of everybody else that was under this height that succeeded the NFL?
Well, because they don't actually exist. These people really
That's what I'm saying.
aren't
They're only
there.
pulling out the big stats, the big names, the anomalies that worked. And look, I'm telling y'all, I get it. If Bryce Young gets drafted, I'm okay. I'm gonna pull for him and buy the jersey.
I'm gonna be happy right away.
I'm gonna be happy. Okay. I'm just saying I can teach CJ Stroud to read the field better. I can't teach Bryce Young to be taller. And Bryce Young is 3 inches shorter.
Can't teach speed
than Drew Brees was. Just saying, 3 inches shorter than Drew Brees.
Well, somebody said 2.
Yeah, it was me.
Somebody said 2 inches.
5'8".
Hey, an extra inch or 2 matters.
He's 5'10". It's 5'10" and 6 foot, I think.
Is it 5'10" and 6 foot?
He's a little bit taller than we expected him to be, Bryce. But either way, no one here is saying that Bryce Young isn't worthy of being the pick, and if it would be a bad move. It's just clearly that is Cody has said this for months now, is that there's something with each one of these quarterbacks. With Anthony Richardson, it's the lack of experience in the accuracy. With the Levis, it's the inability to be good.
Good description.
With it's like somebody has some sort of flaw that you're going to latch onto. That does not mean it's going to prevent them from having success. It's just it's something you have to consider in the process. But these let's remind too that Russell Wilson was a 3rd round pick. Right? Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. These guys exceeded their station. And that doesn't mean that and if you would have picked them at 1 and they had that same career, then God bless them. I want to make this comparison, and I'll ask you, Cody, because you're the draft guy. Or it's not a comparison, a question. A lot of people talk about Kyler Murray and Bryce Young. I don't know if Kyler Murray is necessarily something that tells me that Bryce Young, is evidence that Bryce Young will succeed. I'm almost to the point that I feel like Kyler Murray is living on reputation of his rookie season alone. Is Kyler Murray really that good?
Well, I mean, I'm not a big believer in Kyler Murray as a football player, but I also don't like the comparison between Kyler Murray and Bryce Young because they have entirely different skill sets. Kyler Murray might be the fastest quarterback in the NFL, like between him and Lamar Jackson.
Really?
Yeah, but dude,
is he that quick?
Yeah, dude,
wow.
He didn't run a 40, but he probably runs like a low 4.3. I mean, the dude is a burner, and he was in college. He could run away from you. And by the way, that was the point that Peter King was making in his article earlier. That you might hear Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray, but he's not as built as Russell Wilson, and he's not as fast as a Kyler Murray. So when you factor that into the situation, it does kind of scare you, that size, even more. But Bryce is also better able to do things than either of those other quarterbacks were. They're very good under pressure in college. They always keep their eyes downfield. I feel like a lot of times Kyler Murray is looking to run first and throw second, whereas Bryce
Young.
Bryce is a pure definition of a pocket passer. And I saw somebody say in the chat earlier that they don't like the Drew Brees comparisons. I don't like them because they give them to every short quarterback.
Right.
Just because they're short quarterbacks. But if I'm being honest, and I believe I've said this before, Bryce Young to me is the only one that actually earns a Drew Brees comparison because of what they do well and because of the arm talent, because of things like that. To me, those are a lot more in the wheelhouse of a Drew Brees, and his intelligence. That is,
it's off the charts. Like that's really what you're paying for. You're paying for him being Peyton Manning.
They're also saying that Bryce Young might be the smartest overall player in this entire draft class.
Right. That's what you're paying for. That's what you're paying for, and that's a real skill to have. I guess what I don't want to. I shouldn't even say it. When it comes to the Kyler Murray thing, is I'm not trying to use it as a negative comparison. What I'm saying is I don't know if comparing him to Kyler Murray is a compliment.
Right, I hear you. It's
like I'm trying to say Kyler Murray. I got questions about him right now. I got real questions about. I mean, sure, I would love to have a quarterback that we could build around, and I would say this is that if he was on the Panthers, I'd be all in. But I don't think he's proven himself to be a great quarterback yet.
And I'll even go a step further. A lot of people are also comparing him to Tua Tagovailoa, and again, a lot of it is just because they're short quarterbacks. They're comparing them to other short quarterbacks. And I'm not saying that this is true for Bryce, but everybody looks at Tua Tagovailoa's numbers in college, and they're like, "Oh, dude, this guy is the guy." Everybody thought that Tua was a way better bet than Justin Herbert as a quarterback. Or
I was all for tank for Tua. You know what? I still would have been happy if we got Tua. I'd still be happy right now.
Another good comparison is Baker Mayfield going number 1 overall, and he won a Heisman, had all these stats and
that's these ill skills, remember?
Right, but also Josh Allen went in that same draft, played at Wyoming, a nobody school, had an abysmal completion percentage, and dude, I don't care what anyone says, there is not a general manager alive that would draft Tua Tagovailoa over either Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. So just because a quarterback is better in college doesn't necessarily mean that they're the better long-term NFL prospect.
Right.
Nobody thought that Baker Mayfield should have gone 1 that year, though.
I mean, he had the
nobody thought that would when the Browns made that selection, it was seen as a reach. It was an analytics thing. They were trying to. It was outside the box.
They thought
that's not even
Sam Darnold.
Yeah, which he's gonna have his best year with. He's
I
gonna start.
agree.
Yeah,
fans are not ready for the price or for the Sam Darnold redemption arc. That's ready to happen. Go ahead, Greg.
Can I be honest with these things? Is like I'm not gonna lie. Like nobody was talking about Patrick Mahomes being this guy. Nobody was talking about Justin Herbert. Okay, so everybody talks about. Well, we saw Justin Herbert
Cody
coming. We saw Patrick Mahomes coming. No, you didn't. You saw a little bit of. No, you didn't. You saw a little bit of
he
talent.
Was the best quarterback that
you saw a little bit of talent in a guy that could be good, and he happened to turn out to be great. And maybe Cody did say he was the best quarterback in the draft. I don't know.
He did.
I'm just saying, all these professionals who were out there talking about, oh, we saw this coming. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Or these guys would have gone number 1 and number 2. Okay.
Well, that's the thing is those are also, we all love those stories because they were picked and they weren't number 1 and number 2 and they turned out to be great. Like that's the thing when you make comparisons to Russell Wilson, the fact that it's not that Russell Wilson has ever been the best quarterback in the league. He's just outplayed his value every time until now. Right. And so that's the thing is that and this is the point when it comes to, and I'm going to pat myself on my back for this take right here. This is my take. The number 1 pick is either a superstar or a bust.
Yeah.
There's no in between. There is no in between. If you're the number 1 pick and you're just a very good quarterback like Jared Goff, it's a bust.
Yeah.
Next call.
Yeah, if you're picking number 1, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's the expectation for the number 1 is different for a 13.
Yeah,
you get a good quarterback at 13, and he goes and has an 8. Kirk Cousins it's like the Kirk Cousins RG3 thing too.
Yeah.
It's a bust or not, but you could be a pretty good player in the league and be drafted at 25 and you're seen as a success. You're a pretty good player and you're drafted at number 1, you're seen as a bust. Here's Anthony in Charlotte.
What's up, C3? It's Anthony from Charlotte.
What's up,
Just wanted to call in. Literally nothing to say other than 23 days left until this bullshit conversation is over.
It's not bullshit.
Yeah, that's literally all I have to say. But yeah, and we signed a linebacker today. I don't know his name. I forget. It's like Grushin Hill or something, but he had 108 tackles
Not
with
even
the Texans
close.
in 2021. So hopefully he can be more than a special teams player for us. Really hope so. Glad we signed a linebacker. Still need to address the edge position. But yeah, that's all I got to say. Anthony from Charlotte, you boys already know the motherfucking vibes. Keep pounding. In 23 days until we can stop arguing about Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. This shit is annoying. Keep pounding.
Keep pounding. And by the
Why
way,
is it bullshit though? What other conversation
I'll
is
tell
to
you
be
why.
had?
I'll tell you why. First, Gibble Gabble, the number is, I put it up on the stream if you would like to leave a message for us. And so some of you probably know this by now. I have a Friday free-for-all chat. So that way, whenever I make the links and stuff, I can post it to everybody at the same time, right? But that discussion chat room is constant. I'm talking constant.
It's like the Panthers
fight.
creator chat where it's just like,
Dude,
what do you guys do? Do you work?
Dude, Anthony, Sports Nut is in there. Our guy Season, Panther Pickle, White Chocolate, Jay Stubbs. Everybody's in this chat room, and everybody just sits and fights all day. JJ, who's he's an Ohio State fan, and he's a big time CJ Stroud fan. So everybody's in there just fighting all the time. And yeah, when you're doing nothing but fighting, yeah, it does get a little bit tiresome when you're doing it over and over. But what I will say is this, man. We're never going to get this time back. Enjoy it. As much as you hate it right now, dude, enjoy the fact that the Panthers are picking number 1 and that there is a debate between that there's even a debate to be had between these two incredible prospects.
It's either the best pick or a bust, though.
Maybe. I mean, maybe.
If you get a quarterback, if you get Bryce Young,
I like him both.
And he's a good quarterback, but not become the elite quarterback, it's going to end up being a bust. Same for CJ Stroud.
And you had the number 1 pick. And by the way, David Tepper gave the number 1 pick, so that way he's going to know what kind of evaluators he has. If they end up messing this entire thing up, then hey, he literally gave his front office and his coaching staff the pick of the litter, whichever one they want out of all their quarterbacks.
We need this shit to hit, folks. I'm telling you, it's tough for a podcast and a team to grow when they're just okay or a little bit below average. We need to either be relevant at number 1 pick, like this is going to give us a lot of talk, but we need this. We need, man, this imagine how this podcast, we built a big foundation. We are, when I hear Scott Fitterer and them all talk about like, you build this team and then you're ready to drop the quarterback in and go to, that's how I feel this podcast is. We've built the foundation. We just need the hype for the Panthers to swell. And we got to hit this. We hit this pick and he comes out fucking out of the gate and is really good. This podcast over the moon next year. Over the moon anyway. Thanks for being a part of it. Let's go to the next call.
Good evening, gentlemen. How y'all doing? It's Nick out here from Seattle. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day and ready to keep going. Tony, I got a bone to pick with you, Tony. A couple weeks back, I called on a Monday evening trying to get in for the cat calls early because I was so excited about getting the number 1 pick. And then you get to the end of the calls, you say, I'm not playing a call for Monday. That was my call. You passed. I got a bone with you, Tony. But no, it's all love. I'm just excited for the Panthers potentially changing the franchise coming here soon. We got the number 1 pick. We got a great coaching staff. Now the question is, who are we going to get? I think we should get CJ Stroud personally. just because the question is always, if Bryce Young were CJ Stroud's height, there would be no debate. I like CJ Stroud. Don't get me wrong. Bryce Young's going to have a great career.
Yeah.
But I think CJ's the guy. I'm excited to see what we do. Who's going to be the next edge rusher? That's the big question I want to ask you, boys. Who's the edge rusher we're going to get in this draft? As always, keep pounding. Stay healthy, brothers.
Thank you for the
pounding. Call. Great call. So this is something that you hear Bryce Young fans say a lot, that if Bryce was 6'3", 220 pounds, he would be the hands-down best quarterback.
That's the fucking point.
Yeah, but by the way, y'all know what I say about ifs. If my aunt had nuts, she'd be my uncle. So, and again, I don't even mind the size of Bryce. Like, at this point, I honestly don't care.
You do a little bit.
Doesn't. But it really doesn't. No, but it doesn't.
It's not an asset, though. It's not an asset.
Right. It's not an asset, but it doesn't bother me because I've said this before. I feel like the Panthers have an adequate enough offensive line to be able to keep Bryce protected.
This is the most delusional fucking Panther fan right now ever to say that you got a good. We don't know about good offensive lines, homie.
No, dude.
We had a little. Look, it's like
we're on the up and up. No, dude, we're on the up and up. Get that red blanket shit out of here, dude. This offensive line.
The Jets are like this. They had a decent year with some talent. They had a good draft last year. They're like, if we just get Aaron Rodgers, we're winning the Super Bowl. This is us. We had a mid-tier offensive line, and we feel like we're fucking. Dude,
I'll fight you right now. I'll punch you in your dumb face. This offensive line is on the up and up. We were balling out at the end of last season. We broke some all-time single-game rushing records for the Panthers. Dude, that's something.
Some all-time bad teams.
We have not had an offensive line like this in Carolina forever. So, with that said, dude, Bryce Young fans, especially on Twitter, I'm sorry. Y'all are fucking psycho, dude. Y'all are psycho. Today, I went and I put out a post that, hey, the upside to the Panthers drafting Bryce Young #1 is that it puts the onus on the Carolina Panthers to always guarantee that they have a top shelf offensive line. Always. You think David Tepper doesn't know how to protect future assets? Like, he's a billionaire. That's what they do. And then everybody took that and said, oh, you think CJ Stroud doesn't need the same protection? Even when I'm trying to be nice and say, hey, this is the benefit of drafting an undersized quarterback, everybody wants to get all pissy and moan.
Benefit?
Yeah, because if you have a 5'10.5" quarterback, your front office has to make sure that you have a damn good offensive line in order to be protecting him and protecting that future investment. You're damn right about it, and I'll double down.
There is some truth to that. You know what? I'll tell you that.
Right about it.
I firmly believe that the Panthers fucking cheaped out on the offensive line and didn't invest in any of that because they had Cam, who could make do. Like he could. It was taking advantage of a situation, and that's why you also didn't ever get him any receivers or anything. You were like, we got Cam, let's put it all. And you know what? We had a coach too that wanted to do that. We had a coach that was a defensive guy that wanted to play a game like that. And so we got Cam on that side, and then let's get a great defense and Cam will win for us. But we saw what Cam, and look, and you guys know I'm a Cam sexual. Just go back and watch the New England game where he remember there's a couple of clips that are out there where he breaks it's like this play was broken before it even started, and Cam runs around like a crazy person and then turns it to 30-yard gain. There was that one time against the Atlanta Falcons where he drug the whole fucking team 6 yards to get a first down on 4. We took Cam for that was always my argument with Cam and my defense with him is the people who were so critical of Cam. What I was just trying to say to him is this: is Cam's not perfect as a thrower, as you know what I'm saying? But man, I want him on we're better with him. Like you take for granted. It's like when you're married or when you got a girl, like you're like, oh, they do this, they do that. Well, you know what? Go be single and see what the fuck is out there.
Yeah, man. The grass is not always greener on the other side. Anthony Piccarello with the 199 love bomb says Lakers won, Greg. Let's go.
All right, let's go to the next call. I love this call. I can see some of the transcripts already.
You were muted, by the way, Greg. But yeah, go ahead, Tony.
C3 Panthers Podcast. Congratulations, 5,300 subscribers. You had 400 people live watching. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. And you guys are just nailing it too. And I think one of the charms of your podcast, man, you guys are regular guys. You're regular working people. You're not like some of these commentators who are former, players or coaches who don't appreciate how hard it is to make it in the real world. And many of them have had a gift when they were young, so they've had a paved road and had easy lives, except for the physical demands of football. Well, anyway, I'm curious to know, and your fans are curious to know, what do you guys do for your day job? I know for Tony that you're a professor of history, I think, or something like that too. So Tony, Cody, CK, and Bat Daddy, tell me, what do you guys do for a living?
Oh, wow.
Thank you. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to the next season. Bye-bye.
Man, thank you for the call. You know what? I appreciate that. I don't want to take look, is that some people have kind of the advantages of brand and fame already. They've got, look at Pat McAfee. I know we celebrate him as somebody who's kind of changed the game in so many ways, and he certainly has. So I'm not taking it away, but it's a lot easier to get player interviews when you got their text, when you can text them. Right. It's a lot easier. It's like when Dan Patrick left the mothership and ESPN and went and started his own radio thing. Yes, that was a giant leap, but he also had cred. He had, and it's a challenge to build something from nothing.
Right, it is, and let's also acknowledge, and I appreciate him saying this in the call. These guys did work their ass off to be able to get where they were, to where they had the clout and they had the ability to do that. But I also do appreciate the fact that he sees what we're trying to do. We're not trying to come out here and tell people how they should feel. Honestly, the fact that we have 4 people that all typically have a different opinion, or it's not always a one-sided idea that we're bringing to the table, I think is something that is super valuable, and I think people appreciate that. So I appreciate him, obviously giving us a shout out there. My day job, if you're interested in that,
this is awesome. It's the best one.
I am a debt collector, so
nice.
I collect on.
Now you're a manager debt collector, though.
Well, sort of. No, I'm in the legal department now, so
yeah,
I'm collecting on the debt that people have gotten a summons or a judgment on, or things like that. So
just say when you hear CK's voice outside of this podcast, it makes you sweat. It doesn't make you moist.
He's the guy I ignore. You're the guy I ignore.
All right, Greg.
Yeah, I'm just a simple mailman. I'm a not retired vet. I guess I, didn't stay in long enough to retire, but I'm a veteran that just delivers mail in my hometown.
Wonderful. And I usually try to. I'm Tony in the world. I'm Anthony at work. I teach history at a community college. I've been teaching for 14 years, and I like to. I started this podcast, and if you want to know some of this stuff, as Twan Don has interviewed both myself and Cody about this stuff, is like just kind of like, hey, sometimes we get so caught up just talking about sports that we forget, just we don't know a lot about people. I got 3 kids. Greg's got kids. CK's got kids. We're working. We're doing all of this, and not that I just want to go back to what you're saying, the building from nothing. I've always said this is I take what we do seriously, but I don't take myself seriously. And so this is never, I don't want this. And sure, am I proud of kind of, what, the more success you get used to be like this, is that if I would have walked 5, 7 years ago, we had 142 people watching, I would have walked away and been like, I made it. I'm the next star of the internet. Right now, I've just come to the point is like every one of those gains just is like another one. I was like, why aren't we doing, you want more, you want this and that. And I just want to always keep in mind, and you guys know I talk a lot. I'm a talker. I'm Italian. It's just part of my nature. My wife says I could talk to an elevator wall and get the thing to stop. I just don't ever want people to think that this is about, that I think it's about me. And my takes have never been about what I think is right, this and that. This whole podcast was started out of one simple thing. Joey Riolano and I were roommates when I was in college. He moved to Charleston, South Carolina. He's my older brother, basically. This kid, we go so far back that he acted like my dad on the phone to the police and got me out of some trouble when I was 17. Joe and I go way back. We used to just call each other at halftime of every game and just be like, what's going on with the team? And it was our way of weekly staying together as friends who were far away. And then I said, we should record this shit. This show started, the first iteration of the C3 Panthers podcast started out as what was called the halftime hangout. And it was us talking about the first half for 5 minutes. And then I was like, wait a minute, the shelf life on this is 6 minutes. We can't, let's do this on a day later and just talk about what happened. So I just want it always to feel like you're in the car riding to the game, riding, and that's just all. If that's my dream about this, I never think I know the most. Cody, do you want to tell? What does Cody do? Cody dominates the fucking internet. That's what he does.
Yeah.
So I went to college for video game design. I have a certificate in character development and animation, and I got really good with computers for a while. But what you find out is that the jobs that I was really looking to do, they're reserved for people that have been in the business like 10 or more years. So, I use my computer skills. I got a few other odd jobs of, doing stuff here and there. I've run some marketing accounts for a few people on Twitter before. But at this point in my life, hey, I'm a full-time online personality. Dude. I write content for drafttech.com. And by the way, thanks to Aaron Mayock, because he gave me that opportunity, and I've been doing that for 5 years now. And by the way, do me a favor, man. Check out drafttech.com. We put in a lot of work over there, year in and year out, really trying to make that one of the premier draft websites on the internet. So, we're always putting a bunch of work in over there. And everybody in the chat is saying I'm a phone sex operator, and I will neither confirm or deny any of that bullshit, dude. Because that's for me.
All right, let's go to the next call.
Yo, it's YCE, White Chocolate Express. So what's happening, people? Happy Tuesday. We're almost there. We're in the home stretch. The draft is coming up. I don't give a fuck who we take at 1. As long as it's Stroud or Young, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I'm same. I'm buying their jersey mug. I am buying that jersey.
My question is at 39, what are we going to do? Listen, I was very angry that I never got to see Jaycee Horn and Stephon Gilmore, 2 of the best cornerbacks in South Carolina history, playing at the same time for my favorite team, the Carolina Panthers. I was very angry. It almost happened. It should have happened. We should have re-signed them. And I was very pissed. But you know what? They can make it up for me with the 39th overall pick. The Carolina Panthers take Cam Smith, South Carolina. Give me Jaycee Horn. Give me Cam Smith. South Carolina brothers. That's what I want at pick 39. And also, also want this draft. It's do not take a Clemson player so Cody can cry on YouTube. I want to see those Clemson tears.
Kevin's such a dick.
He loves
Dude, I revealed a picture. Dude, I revealed a picture from my past on Twan Don's show the other night. And how about this fucker Kevin made it his profile picture coming into the Friday free throw? He's such a goddamn troll, dude.
I love him. He's one of us. He's one of us, and that's why when I call him my bastard son, it's like, damn. At what point do I have to recognize? He's one of us. I love that type of humor too.
Yeah, dude.
I love the loving nature, but it's a loving tease.
Picking on your friends, yeah. It's like
I've always told people that if I tease you, I care about you. If I don't tease,
dude,
then I don't fucking think about you.
If I don't make fun of you from time to time, I don't love you like that.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next call.
Hey guys. It's the girl that makes them howl, a.k.a. Joey the Blind Panther. Calling in to talk about C.J. Stroud versus Bryce Young because, guys, unfortunately, as annoying as this debate is, I refuse to call it a master debate because masturbation is way more fun than this shit at this point. I mean, we know we're getting a quarterback. We know whoever we want, we're getting them. Even theoretically, I'm not saying anything, but if we wanted Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, there's nothing stopping us from getting them.
Of course.
Okay, not saying that the Panthers do, not saying that I do. I'm just saying. You know, sometimes you got to explain this shit for some people that hadn't drinking enough beer and are still a bit wound up tight. But that being said, guys, we're 23 days away, which is my age, by the way. 23 days away. And if you ask me,
Tonya would call you a baby.
It's 46 days. You know, we should have been done this shit 46 days ago. So, yeah, dude, I am sick of hearing this shit, dude. I know people are going to talk about it because, I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, there's not much else to talk about. Free agency's done for the most part. Pretty much all of it. I mean, unless someone decides to sign a couch potato, but I don't see that happening. But there's that. That's all there is to talk about. If I had to guess, it would be CJ. Because Frank Reich and staff can fix the things that can fix CJ's shortcomings, but they cannot fix Bryce Young's shortcomings. The Bryce Young's shortcomings are physical. CJ's have to do with mental and knowledge of the game, which Reich can easily fix. Anyway. Wow.
Hello, dude.
Dude, you're so good at that, man. Every time I think I'm prepared for the growl, but I'm not, dude. I'm never fully prepared. Yeah, dude. How about Kevin turned it into his fucking profile picture just now? Dude, he's such an asshole. He's such an asshole.
The best. He loves you.
I might never put his comments up on screen, dude.
What was so bad about the picture? I haven't seen it.
Oh my god. We're gonna go over this again, dude.
What's so bad about it though?
Is
it embarrassing?
Yes.
Oh. Damn.
I'll say it. But there's no shame in my game, dude. I'm fucking Panthers diehard, and no one's ever gonna talk shit to me.
Oh, is he in a Falcons fucking jersey?
I grew up in Georgia. I grew up in fucking Georgia. When I was a kid, I didn't know any better. And at the time, Jamal Anderson was the goddamn man, dude. He had the
Dirty Bird, right?
Dude, he had the Southeast doing the fucking Dirty Bird, and it was incredible, man.
Get him, Kev. I thought it was gonna be was something that was like embarrassing because of disability or something. No,
dude,
you deserve every bit of shit.
In fact, let me fucking see if I can find the picture, dude.
So my nephew comes over to my house. He's my wife's. His mother is my wife's sister. Not very, but I've known her forever. This mug comes to Thanksgiving or Christmas wearing a damn Who's the tall ass receiver tight end for the Falcons?
Roddy White?
No, the tight end right now.
Kyle Pitts.
Pitts comes over wearing this Pitts jersey. I was like, man, what are you doing walking into Christmas, man? Wearing that ugly ass shit. Like I was like, I'm about Miranda, take his gift back. Like I was tease him, having fun. And that's what I love about sports is we get to talk shit about that, but it's just not like politics where we have to hate each other. Yeah. So here, and this is an ice up to my wife real quick on this. She has done some promotions for this bar, like where she got a free jersey to give, like that they gave away. They had like 30 jerseys and they gave them away over the season or something like that. And this was like the last 3. And they just gave her one and she got to pick. And I don't know what the other choices was. And she comes home with this jersey, a Kyle Pitts jersey in white. And I was like, what the fuck are we going to do with this? Like, are we got to sell it on eBay? I mean, she was like, well, she's from Georgia as well. Yeah. She didn't know who to pick. It was like Mac Jones, you know what I'm saying? And she didn't like it. She was like, I figured something. And I was like, fuck this. What the only thing I'm going to be able to do is burn this on the podcast. And you know what? You know what I did? I gave it to my nephew for Christmas. That was his birthday present. Dude. I gave it to him for his birthday present. And I look like the coolest uncle that I got him a fucking expensive jersey. And I was like, I had 2 choices: burn this bitch or give it to you and make it. Because I was like, Miranda, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what kind of? She was like, I could have gotten this other, like some no. I was like, well, I feel better selling that on eBay than I would Kyle Pitts jersey.
You want to see this picture, dude?
No, like yes.
I said, there's no shame in my game, dude. I was a youngin'. I was young and dumb, dude.
Why did you show this?
Cause man, I don't have anything to hide, dude. Like I said, I have nothing to hide from anyone. I'm in a wheelchair. I used to be a Falcons fan. I don't give it. And by the way, look how depressed my face was.
Yeah, you don't look like a happy Falcons fan.
Listen, I'm either mad that I'm wearing a Falcons jersey, or that bird just shitted all up in my hand.
Pretty bird.
I was mad about that, dude.
Pretty bird. Yeah, Cody had a bird with no head.
I was not that very long. All it took is one Super Bowl performance, and I'm like, nah, dude, I'm done with football. I didn't even fuck with football until Cam Newton brought back my love of everything football in the Carolina Panthers. And how about this douche, White Chocolate, saved this picture to his phone?
God. Oh, yeah.
How did he get that picture, Cody?
Because he shared it. Cody put it on the internet. And once anything goes on the internet, it's forever. It's public property.
I didn't put it on the internet. Tawan wanted some pictures of me when I was younger, and my mom.
Well, what do you think you were gonna do? What do you think he was gonna do? You're going on.
I don't care.
This is like I said, you made a mistake in your past, and you just don't need to share it. I'm not saying you shouldn't be proud. This is on you, Cody.
No doubt. My brother said the same thing, and when I called my mom, I'm like asking her for pictures. She found this one. And she's like, bet you won't show that. Oh, dude.
Oh, she knew. Mom knew what's up. You try. Look,
But
cool.
Don't ever bet me that I won't do something, dude, because,
True that.
Hey, can I just say, though, like, dude, and this is the only good thing you'll ever hear me say about the Falcons. Jamal Anderson was the fucking man, dude. Jamal Anderson was. I'm
not gonna lie. Yeah.
Jamal Anderson was that fucking
It's my most hated team. I hate them more than anybody.
He was really good. Yeah.
I want to 199 says, look at that little bird in his hand.
I know. The head was duct taped on like Dumb and Dumber. Pretty bird.
I've always had a big ass head though, as you can see.
I will pivot this to one thing also, since we were talking about the origins of the show and things like that, is I'm not a gatekeeper fan. So when people say you're a bandwagon fan, this and that, jump on the bandwagon, folks. I'm not going to ever tell anybody how to fan, how to do that. And that is every Panther fan. And you know what, to be honest, look, is if you're old enough, before the Panthers existed and you cheered for a team, you had to have a team.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was a quote unquote Giants fan.
Yeah.
Because all of my family's from New York, and I thought, oh, I got to pick a New York team.
You didn't know any better.
Well, they didn't exist. The Panthers didn't exist at the time. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a gatekeeper. Like, welcome to the side of good, Cody.
Oh,
Thanks
yeah,
for leaving that fucking.
Oh, dude, I learned the error of my ways, man. And I was
Or you know what? Is you learned this. Is you don't got to put every picture from your childhood on the fucking internet.
Yeah, straight up. My brother, and my brother's a Saints fan. He thought I was dumb as hell for putting that up.
Next
whatever,
call.
man. No shame in my game.
What's up, guys? This is Chase. I got a question for you guys. Would you be willing to trade a first-round pick or two for a quarterback that averages only 186 passing yards a game? I don't think he would. Oh, wait a minute. I was Lamar Jackson. the great Lamar Jackson. Only 186 yards passing
over his career
per game for a quarterback.
True.
I mean, that's Baker Mayfield numbers.
Probably pretty close.
Check those.
Oh,
stats.
and
Is that true?
I broke into Cody Lack's house and read his diary. I read that he really wants to wait to next draft to get DJ Ungolele of Clemson Lower. And
this is a good
nice
call.
up to whoever's in charge of getting the show on the streaming services. Because why did I get last week's show until today? Nice up on that, guys.
That's me.
Nice up, Tony.
Yeah. I did the same thing this week, Tony. Don't worry about it. It happens.
No, I look as this is one of those things. I would mention to people is like I can't just physically am unable to get it up right now because I didn't have the blue pill.
Physically can't get it up.
I can't get it up.
I believe you.
Hey,
I was like, man, I am impotent. No, as really we had a long show just like tonight last week, and it was so late. I was like, man, I had to get up so early. I had to go right to bed, and I got probably a little crunk on the show too. I was drinking wine, and I had all that drive. Yeah. So anyway, nope, that was very delayed. 6-day delay on getting the podcast. But you know what's so awesome though is, and I am apologetic to it. I deserve the ice up. It does not bother me that people. I love this that people are sending me messages like, "Where the hell's the podcast at?"
Yeah, dude.
Like that makes my heart like it, dude. I love it. I love it. I love join the gang.
You've done that before, and people would message me and they'd be like, "Where's the audio podcast?" And then I'd message you. It's all right. We're gonna figure out ways for me to.
It's just hard. Look, I just want to remember, like, and then there was one point over the last couple of years, and again, I'm the reason this podcast goes like CK's yawning right now. It's because of me. This is my fault. But I would you have to stay. I would be up till like 4 a.m. Somebody, this is the time. And I worked and somebody goes, "What the hell are you doing up right now?" And I'm like tweeting.
You sent that to me at like 3:30 in the morning. I was like, "What are you doing up, Tony?"
Yeah. And I was like, "Hey, well, I got an hour and a half of basically uploading, doing all this shit in the background afterwards." And then, look, very sorry for the delay on that. Hope I get this one out early tomorrow morning. Let's go to the next call.
Hey guys, it's Joey the Blind Panther again.
Joey.
And seeing as how we ain't got shit to talk about, really, who wants to talk about Bryce Young and CJ Stroud by the time you play this call? But I thought I would call in and tell you all some Atlanta Falcons jokes.
Oh boy.
And me and my buddy were actually telling these at work this morning. So the first one is, why do the Falcons eat their Wheaties from a box? And the answer is because they choke every time they get near the Super Bowl. And the next one is, what's the difference between the Atlanta Falcons and a dollar bill?
Oh.
a dollar bill is good for 4 quarters.
Oh, I like that one.
So there's a small town somewhere in Panther Nation, and there's a town douchebag, and he likes to beat on all his women. So this guy, everybody in the town found out pretty quick, he was a Falcons fan.
Oh.
So one day he gets this chick, and they're all doing real good, and he doesn't seem to beat on this chick. So people see this chick somewhere and say, how do you get this fool not to beat on you? And she says, well, he's a Falcons fan, so I just wear Panthers colors so he can't beat me. Anyway, guys.
I like it.
Wow, wow, wow.
I appreciate the effort. I love that. Yeah. Dude, applause.
Appreciate
5 out of
yeah.
5.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. You know what is I like a over corny joke too. So the first one was, but it still is all right. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like okay, yeah, like that was the point, to be sticky. It was to be. We need a Jewish word. If Gettleman was here, he'd help us out with this one. But the second one was just solid. And was the third one real or a joke?
I think that
is somebody really getting beat on and then he made it into a joke?
No, I don't think so.
All right, let's go to the next call.
Yo, this is MDJ365, man. I'm always in the comments. Just recently started checking y'all guys out. I just wanted the crew to just tap in on what I'm going to say right now.
Yeah,
just want to hear y'all's opinion on it. I think us as Panther fans, we have high hopes for this team. I feel like we overrate some of these moves we did this offseason. So it's like a little two-part thing right here. So Adam Thielen is old. He can catch, but he's old. I feel like he's on the back end of his career, and he may just came here just to die. Now, he did have 700 yards last season, but that's with Justin Jefferson on the other side of him. We have no Justin Jefferson. Hayden Hurst. We have no Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. How good and how productive is he going to be as well? I feel like he's kind of been overrated. Now, Miles Sanders, I think that's a great move. I think he'll still be a great running back. I think he's in his prime. So I just feel like some of these moves just a little overrated. Then the second thing is, man, Brian Burns. I love Brian Burns, but at what point are we going to accept that this is just who he is? I think this is his peak. I feel like he's, max a 12 to 13 sack guy season. I think sometimes we think he's going to turn into TJ Watt or one of these elite Myles Garrett type guys, and he wants that kind of money, and we'll see. But I just want to know you guys' opinion on it, and congrats on being the longest running Panther podcast out there. I appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man.
I think he said his name was MJD365. Appreciate you, man. He's a brand new caller, man. Dude, that's awesome. We appreciate your call. I was supporting us. Man, he touched on a lot there, man.
Thielen to Hurst.
Yeah.
That's basically the thread there are these guys, they're coming from good teams.
They are coming from good teams. Hayden Hurst still had really good production on a team that was loaded, man. They had Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. They were able to spread the ball around. Yet he still had good numbers. And with Adam Thielen, it's like kind of what we said earlier. Adam Thielen, he's going to catch everything that you throw at him. He's never going to be the guy that takes the top off the defense, but that's not what the Panthers brought him here to do. We brought him to be just a Mr. Reliable
receiver.
Yeah, he's a possession
receiver. 3rd and 7, you're going to Adam Thielen.
Yeah, but also even in the red zone, man, like this guy found
12
the end
touchdowns
zone.
last year.
Yeah,
bro.
so whenever you have these big, tall guys on the perimeter, like DJ Chark and Terrace Marshall Jr., inevitably you're gonna have these openings for our man Thielen to find the soft spot in the zone and really dissect these red zone defenses and put the ball in the end zone. So for that, I'm incredibly grateful to have him. And the final thing, I believe Burns is going to have his best year this year. And I feel like we have yet to see the best of Brian Burns. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but every single year, Brian Burns has been better than he was the year before. And he had so many near misses that we forget about. Like if he was a better finisher, he would be, 15 sacks the past 2 years in a row. So, I'm choosing to be very optimistic and believe in the upside for Brian Burns.
I tell you, when it comes to, I almost feel like Thielen's production is a testament and a compliment to him as a player. He's played beside Stephon Diggs and put up monster numbers on the other side, undrafted. Then he goes, Justin Jefferson is the fucking arguably the best for him and Devontae Adams, I think, or maybe, it's Justin Jefferson right now. He's better. You people would take Justin Jefferson over Stephon Diggs right now, I think. And I think that'd be, a little bit younger. But I think the testament to Thielen is actually producing those numbers. And I know last year was a decline. I don't think we brought him to be our number one.
No.
And I think if our number 2 gets 700 yards, I'm going to jump up and fucking down. Like we haven't had, when's the last time? None of the players, who was it? We've only had DJ Moore, and that's it. Nobody, Robbie Anderson. We had a 1,000-yard season, Robbie Anderson and them together. We have not had, and this is why I always go back to Brandon LaFell. Brandon LaFell's been better than 98% of the receivers we've had since we used to shit on Brandon LaFell. I'm not saying he's great, but I will take 700 yards and 6 touchdowns. If Adam Thielen does that next year, he's a fucking monster in my mind. I love him. All right.
So a donation from Cody Lax, the long lost bird, says, I'm really excited about our weapons. Keep adding. See what I mean, dude? Kevin is an Uber troll. He's an Uber troll. Wow.
He's like me. We just keep it going a little bit too long. Like we're going to make that joke one more time. More time. Let's go to the next call. Or last call right now.
That bird was a female, by the way. So
hey, guys. Just wibble wabble. Calling in just to say
what's up, Gobble Gobble?
On the Brian Burns topic we were talking about earlier, the thing is like I just was getting irritated at the fact that you're over here talking about like his value and how you wonder if it should be so high, and yet every team it seems like an NFL understands his value. At least a couple do for sure. The Bears wanted him for sure in that trade, number one.
They don't got
and
nobody,
also
though.
Last year a team tried to give up 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns after we traded away Chris McCaffrey for a second and third and fourth and fifth, whatever. Might I add? So the same teams consider, you're talking about value and whatnot. Well, we couldn't even get 1 first-round pick for McCaffrey. A team offered 2 for Burns, and we turned that down because it wasn't good enough. So that lets you know what the Panthers think of Brian Burns. And in my opinion, like you already know my opinion, Brian Burns wasn't trying to be rude or irritate you.
No, you're not.
Comments,
no, we love it. No, we love the
I was just saying,
conversation.
like, you got to give that man a little bit more respect, brother. And like I said, yeah, they both played 60 games for Peppers, 64 for Burns, 40.5 sacks for Peppers, 37.5 for Burns. Roughly 60 game-ish, roughly 40 some sacks. Like, like they're very similar when it comes to that. Their athleticism, both. I also think they're both freaks of nature athletically, and so yeah, they're very comparable in my opinion. And I do believe that with very good coaching, like Burns will excel in his new role in his defense and show everybody what he's worth. Finally, and Peppers came in the league with John Fox, a great defensive coach who ran the shit for 10 years. Dude, Burns was stuck with Wolf for his pretty much his whole career already. He had 1 year at the very end was, dude. I'm just saying. So give him some respect. That's all I'm saying, brother. Besides that, y'all have a great night. You know what I'm saying? Keep combination. Get it, baby.
Thank you so much. I'm going to give him applause. Number one, I think that's his first call into the show. So thank you for being getting your voice heard on the C3 Panthers podcast. And you know what? We've got to take these points. The truth probably lies in somewhere in the middle. And full disclosure, Julius Peppers is my favorite Carolina Panther of all time. He's my number one. And then it's like 1A and 1B with Cam Newton. And then it's Steve Smith. And then I got some linebackers in there and these other people that I love. Pep is was such a monster to me. I just think this is that look, the Panthers had the number 2 overall pick. They were fucking terrible. They were 2-14 when they came into the league. Is that it's like him, and he was Peppers was the first star we ever had that was drafted. Like it was the first. But look, I mean, we could quibble. I think you brought up some things. Is Brian Burns has been available. Brian Burns has been available, and he is our best player on the team. I think you guys convinced me that already. I am not advocating against Brian Burns by any means. I do believe that Peppers was in a different stratosphere of these types of people. Peppers, the big conversation with Pep. You know how that we talk about Brian Burns and we say he never finishes. He's an almost guy. Like he could have had 17 sacks, but he never gets there. The thing with Pep, they used to be critical about Pep of him taking plays off. They'd be like, oh, he ain't going hard enough all the time. But then you realize this is being a defensive end is like playing chess. If you just go 100% on every play, you're gassed by the end. And that's what they say actually about Myles Garrett. Like in the second half, he's like a nobody because he's just overdone it. And I just think this is Pep is just, I don't know. I just watched them play. I don't know if I just don't believe.
That's your guy, man. Even if someone comes to you with a good argument or reason, that's your guy. You're going to defend your guy. I'm not even saying you're wrong, dude. He was dominated.
I saw this dude on a Denver game one time on the 2-yard, it was like the 5-yard line or 2-yard line, ultimately batted up the ball, basically created disruption through the line, batted the ball up, ran 98 yards, almost had the touchdown. He picked it, tipped it, picked it, and took it to the house. And he outran, I mean, it was 98 yards. And dude, they showed him on the sidelines after that play. And you're in that Denver Mile High shit. This mug was sucking on that oxygen mask. I thought the oxygen tank was going to crumple. It was one of the greatest plays I've ever seen in my life. Love Pep. Also, live 30 minutes away from where I'm at. All right, that's the C3. Those are the cat calls. We want you to call in for Friday. Well, you can be a part of the show on Friday nights. You can call in throughout the week at 252-228-5098. Be a part of the chat, all of that. Let's blast through the news. We're super quick. We've got it's a long show. Look, as we get bigger and better and people love to be a part of the conversation, the show just extends and extends. I thought this was interesting because, Cody, I'm an advocate of trying. We haven't had I know the linebacker isn't sexy. I know it's not part of the analytics of the game, but good linebackers, or AKA great linebackers, have been such a part of the Panthers storyline. So many of my favorite players throughout the years have been linebackers. Sam Mills, before my time, it was really heyday was with the Saints, but so important to the Carolina Panthers, linebacker. Thomas Davis, linebacker. Luke Kuechly, linebacker. John Beeson, important to me. John Beeson was better than Thomas Davis for a while. Hold on. Dan Morgan, Will Witherspoon. We have had such in fact, I've been so hard on Shaq Thompson, and some people, and they may have a point, is that he's just been pretty good, but not great. And I'm used to just chef's kiss at the linebacker. Jack Campbell has been reported to be training with former Panthers linebacker Luke Kuechly. Hey,
yeah,
that's a guy you want to work out with.
Yeah, man. And by the way, Jack Campbell is a beast. Watch some of that man's highlight film. That dude is a baller, man. He's incredibly strong. He's aggressive. He ran good at the combine. I'd have to look up his numbers. I don't know them off the top of my head. But dude is a beast, man. And if you have that type of sensibility that Luke Kuechly does, dude, that's a great recipe, man.
Lamar Lathan, Kevin Green, wonderful stuff. What's next?
I believe this is. I think we only have 2 bits of news. I think this is it, unless you added a third.
Maybe, I don't remember. This is interesting. I just like this, and somebody brought this up too about the Rams with the trades or whatever. It was like this. Colts owner Jim Irsay says you have to be careful not to mortgage your future, ultimately, is what he's talking about. Well, guess what? The fucking Colts suck, and the Rams, albeit aggressive when it comes to trading picks, have been in the Super Bowl twice and won it once in the last whatever years. The Rams have got me to the point where is that maybe that draft capital of the future isn't as important as sometimes we think. And this is why I'm not fucking upset about not having the number 1 pick next year.
Yeah, I mean, he's a character, man. Yeah, that Irsay.
Who's next? What's next then?
Did you add this one?
I don't know. Look, I mean, the Commanders continue to be supposedly up for sale. I almost feel like Dan Snyder's whole goal is to draw this out until they keep him as an owner. Like he's never going to go away. Magic Johnson in on the bid of the group bidding for the Commanders. So interesting. I think that's it. That's it. Oh, last bit. Last bit is this. This is karma. Is this karma? Deshaun Watson and the stain. I think we missed the biggest bullet ever by not getting Deshaun Watson. And I'm not trying to take a shot at you here, Cody, but you made some compelling arguments about how a superstar player can change your team. The irony of this is another superstar quarterback is actually available right now in Lamar Jackson. And one of the arguments about Deshaun Watson was that this never happens. It never happens that a guy in his prime who's among the elite is actually available. Well, you know what? The Browns sold their soul, many people would say, sacrificed what some people would say their ethics. I don't even know who Michael Woods is. That's not the guy that played for the Rams that went to the Texans, is it?
It's Robert Woods.
Yeah. So I don't know who this guy is, but I just thought, man, nothing's going to go. Can the Deshaun Watson era even work? Or are the forces of the universe against them?
I mean, maybe, but I'm right now. You can't say that it was a raw deal until we see him play after an entire offseason. If he has a bad year this year, yeah, but people forget that at the time he was one of the top passers in the NFL. So hey, I'm happy. I'm happy that we're in. I'm happy traded. The position that we're in now.
At the time he was traded, the last time he played in the NFL, he was one of the top passers in the NFL.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
But that's my point.
Let's make details are important.
He threw for almost 5,000.
Details are important.
Right, and part of the details is he threw for over 5,000 yards on a really bad Texans football team.
Mm-hmm. And then he played for a really bad Browns team, and he did really, really bad for them. So,
well, he only played 5 games.
Yeah, he did really bad in the 5 games he played. So we're going to see what he does.
Bro.
He looked horrendous. He had a lot of drops too. All I'm saying is we got to see what happens this year. If the Browns fuck it up this year,
Baker Mayfield played 5 games for us, and we said he did bad. So
he threw like 5 picks in one game in like the red zone.
But Deshaun's I
don't care about this. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk. I'm just wondering, is karma? Just the ultimate thing is can it actually work, or will the universe undermine this regardless of any of the things that you bring up? All right, that's the C3 Panthers Podcast, the longest running Panthers podcast. When I say the longest running Panthers podcast, I mean literally we've been talking since 9 o'clock tonight, but we still have one more segment to go because we don't let you go to sleep. This is our time, our homage to Steve Smith. Let's ice some fools up.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
It's the Ice Up segment, the longest running segment on the longest running Panthers podcast. And that is when we ice up someone. Everybody is fair game. Anyone in the universe is fair game. We tell them to ice up, toughen up, to get it together. Guys, ice somebody up because mine is political but not deep.
Oh boy.
So superficial.
Mine might be. We might all be on the same one on this, to be honest.
Well, let me do mine before we go political then, because I'll probably comment on the political ones. I'm just going to show a quick video.
I love these are my favorite ice
Listen,
up. Please
I am a geek, and I'm cool with that. I've accepted it. I've embraced it. I'm totally fine with that in my elder age, knowing that what I do is very geeky and the things that I like are very geeky, and it's okay. I'm cool with that. However, I do draw a line, and there is a limit. So I just want to show this one TikTok here real quick of this guy who's on a LARPing. Do you know what LARPing is?
Yes, live action role play.
Yeah, so LARPing is like a big deal with some people. I'm not that into it, but like some people really get into LARPing. And this is apparently a news story at a LARPing session where they actually found an actual dead person. So I want to share this story with you, that this guy cannot believe his spell did not work. So let's see here. Wait, let me know if you can hear the audio.
That's coming.
Yeah,
Can you hear the audio?
No, we can't hear that.
You got the
but it's muted on the video, not.
Okay,
just hit that. There we go.
Let's see.
We were in the middle of our tournament when my friend John said he found a body in the bushes over there. I ran over there because I'm a healing monk to try and help, but obviously my magic wasn't strong enough because the dude's body was missing a head. So my friend decided to try and use a necromancer spell, which didn't work, which I knew it wouldn't. And apparently we contaminated the crime scene because that spell uses a lot of glitter. We were in the middle of our tournament when my friend John found a body.
Apparently, it's not the glitter that contaminated the crime scene. It's all the other shit too.
Right. So I just saw this and I was like, "That's hilarious." I've got to ice that up. So I'm icing up anybody who is that into LARP. Like, listen. I go to Comic-Cons, I dress up, I'm totally into cosplay, I'm fine with that, and I have no problem with anybody who takes whatever fantasy they want to whatever level they want to as far as that goes in that manner.
Yeah.
But at some point in time, you have to draw a line with reality. And when you find a guy with his head off, don't try to cast a necromancer spell on him, is all I'm saying.
Do you remember the moment that Tom Cruise went nuts and it was on Oprah? With the couch jumping moment and all of that. It's like the moment. Yeah, it's the moment that he became a nut job to the world.
Crazy guy.
Yeah. The jumping on the couch wasn't the fucking weird part about this. He had just joined Scientology. And he said this. He said, this was, I was young, bro. I was like, this dude is fucking wacko. He said this. He was like, I was in Seattle. I was driving past an accident. Like there was an accident, the EMS, all these people were on the scene. It was a big deal. He said, I knew I had to stop because I was the only person that could really help. Like his Scientology, like he was meant. And I was like, bro, imagine being the motherfucker that needs CPR.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Tom Cruise pushes the paramedic out of the way and says, I'm the guy that's here to help. And you're like, no. So I
get a paramedic in a movie. I can do it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'll be quick. I've got 2 ice up picks. Again, I don't, Tony, we always have these conversations like, is it a real video? Is it just for pretend? I don't know. Dude, if this video is real, it's poetry. It's absolute poetry. This cop over in the UK, I guess he's trying to jump over this fence, and he gets so stuck that his pants fall down.
What's on his ass?
Dude,
he has a shit stain?
He has a poop stain, dude.
He shit his pants when he fell over the...
Dude, he shit his pants going over, and now his pants are stuck at the bottom. But now everyone's laughing at him.
Not even helping him.
They're not helping him, but then look, at a certain point, he reaches for his walkie-talkie.
Don't help him, don't help him.
Don't help him.
Don't help him.
Don't help him.
I'm all about this video.
Where's that guy?
He was recording it. He was recording it the whole time.
So it's
damn right when we find a great
no,
video.
No, that was his walkie-talkie. And he was giving the what?
Calling him for help.
Yeah, he's trying to radio for help,
God.
and nobody would give it to him. And then finally, the one guy feels bad for him.
Why is the poop such a concentrated circle, though? Like if you
it's
shit
almost
your
like
pants
it's fake.
out of fear, like I feel like it would be more disastrous than a perfect quarter.
Dude, it's like a shark. You didn't mean to. You just
made with a Sharpie. Okay, I like that one. I like that one. You know what? Fight the police, as in.
And then my final one is listen, dude. If you're gonna sleep on the job, don't cuddle up with your coworker, bro.
Give people a chance, and this is what.
This is awesome. I love these people. These are my heroes.
Yep. Everybody deserves $15 an hour, right?
Are you serious? Guys, you give.
That's it. So, hey, man, when you're when you're climbing over fences, make sure you don't have a poop stain in your drawers.
Or don't shit your pants when you do.
Yeah, and also don't be sleeping on the job with pillows curled up next to your work husband and or wife. So, eyes up, son.
Yeah.
She had a big booty. He was cuddled up nicely.
She has some big everything. She seemed comfy.
All right, my ice up pick is very simple. It's not too deep. It's a shallow one. I have no opinion on any politic stuff anymore. I have no horse in the race and the whatever. I am gonna ice up the Democrats though. I don't know. It's like I just feel like the Trump indictment, all of this stuff.
It's gonna get him elected.
I think it's going to backfire.
No.
100%.
It's just going to backfire on them.
1,000%.
And the thing that this reminds me of is I read this book that my boss gave it to me when Obama was elected, and it was like somebody churned this book out in it was about Obama's first 100 days, but it was really more about the election because he wrote the book so quickly. And what the whole argument was about how the Republicans, how they got to this point, is they went hard in the paint in between 2004 and 2007 on social issues. And people vote with their wallets. The fringes of society get fucking crazy about certain very specific issues. But we vote based on what the economy is doing. Like you play to the center, but somehow, and all I think is that what the Democrats are doing is either maybe recognizing that, gosh, they're going to have to trot out Biden again, or they're scared. Or like, I just think that whatever it is that this is a tactic to try to keep Trump from getting elected. But I saw this one comedian say this is fucking Trump got street cred. This mug talks about bitches and hoes and money, and if he goes
talks shit to his rivals,
and if he said this, and it was like the best video. It was a great stand-up bit. He said, "Man, if he goes to jail, he get arrested, DeSantis is going to have to get shot like 12 times if he wants the cred that Trump got." I was like,
yeah.
So I'm icing up the Democrats. Because you know what you could is that I feel like this is, and I don't even care. You know what I Googled? Actually, I will say this. I Googled what the hell he was being indicted for because I wasn't paying attention to any of this stuff. And I was actually surprised that it wasn't more serious accusations. It's all like they're all, and I'm not saying he did something legal. I don't really care. I still defend Bill Clinton. Motherfuckers. This dude, he just this dude got head, and you're trying to kick him out of America. Like, no, I said virtue. But I looked it up, and it was just basically if they would have done the payment structure differently, I don't know. Did anybody really think that people ain't paying people off? I was like, duh. We all knew it was happening then, too.
Right. And here's the thing: is they are like
scared.
First of all, statute of limitations is gone for this. Okay, and second of all, like they're pushing for something that they can't prove. Like
it's a theory at this point.
Yeah, it's a theory. They have indicted him before they came down with a charge.
So they haven't even charged him yet.
Which proves
they
that
have
you're
officially,
targeting.
Oh,
like
they have?
that proves you're targeting. If you've indicted somebody before you've come up with a charge, means that you're going to arrest this person for something. You don't know what yet, but for something. That means you're targeting.
My ice up completely goes to this is that
DA.
This actually is going to
DA,
give him more cred.
Well, that DA, I'll tell you this, just to add to your ice up there. Not only do you need to ice up that DA, you also need to ice up the DA for the fact that he broke the law by releasing leaking the indictment information anyway.
Yes.
So the dude is already like breaking the law to file and it's so the thing is it is reigniting a base. It's not going to get
the
him
cult of Trump is fucking 100.
It's not going to get him the nomination. I think when you look at the polls, even with the amount of people who are Republicans who approve of it, is like 30% of Republicans approve of him actually getting arrested, right?
Of arrested or getting a nomination?
Getting arrested.
He will be.
Right.
You really think DeSantis can outdo him? And I don't want to get in.
I don't think you can either. But
I think Tulsi Gabbard's a better option, to be quite honest with you.
Oh, I hate that lady.
I think she's going to.
I
think she will.
DK's not wrong.
I think she has a better chance by a long shot of beating any Democratic nominee that they put up, especially if it's Biden. Sorry about it.
So
he's not wrong.
I wanted to add to this real quick, just to show you. And by the way, I've never voted Republican in my life. I'll probably never vote again in my entire fucking life. But to show you how inept Democrats are, Democrats were literally spending millions of dollars donating to far-right Trump Republicans because they felt like they would be easier to beat.
They want to beat Trump. They think they
are
Trump. Exactly.
No, they are the dumbest motherfuckers in the world. Yep. And by the way, if you look at the difference between how they fought Bernie Sanders versus how they fought Donald Trump, dude, it's night and day difference, man. It's all a sham. Everyone's liars. Everyone's virtue signaling. They don't give a damn about any of the issues that they claim to. They just tell you that shit so you feel inclined to go out and vote for them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about your families, dude.
This is why I started the podcast. I was tired of arguing. Let's talk about Cody and stupid fucking Falcons jersey. That's easy.
I have one more quick ice up after CK, but I want CK to go first.
Yeah. So my ice up. Listen, I'm not going to talk about. I'll talk briefly about Iowa and South Carolina or LSU.
Never mind. I don't have to go after you. You're good. Go ahead.
Yeah. Iowa and LSU. There was this whole thing with, you can't see me and Caitlin Clark doing you can't see me, all that stuff. Who cares? It's literally fucking sports. Who gives a shit, right? Anybody who was offended by it is a snowflake and is just never been in the heat of competition whatsoever, right? And the fact that Caitlin Clark, regardless of the situation, it doesn't matter. Number one, it's sports, but there was an entire group of people that were just offended by Angel Reese doing that after they won the game. But here's my thing, and I'm going to ice up a couple of different things with this. Angel Reese shouldn't have been the one doing that. She was, from my understanding, guarding Caitlin Clark for the entire game, and Caitlin put up 30 points on her. She didn't play a good game. The LSU was a better team than Iowa, but Caitlin was a better player than all of LSU. Sorry. That's what every stat that I saw was. Yeah. So number one, you don't have there is no offensive aspect to it. I couldn't care less. But the reality is she did not deserve to be the one to do that. So secondly, the other part to that is Joe Biden decided to say, I'm going to talk to Joe. I think we should invite Iowa because they played really well too.
Well, both of them. They wanted to invite LSU and Iowa.
Right, exactly. To the White House because the champions. That's how the whole thing works.
Yeah.
How, again, let's talk about the word snowflake. And if this isn't the biggest participation trophy award I've ever fucking heard in my life, like Iowa lost. They don't get the benefit of going to the fucking White House or the freaking White House. Sorry, I'm trying to be better. But Jill Biden, coming from the super liberal side of things, is like, we need to, bring them over. They did a good job. They got all the way to the finals. No,
and they got their ass beat.
And got there. Yeah, they didn't do well. They lost by 20 points.
Yeah.
Anyway,
look, and let me just add on to your ice up. The problem with this issue is this tackles two huge things on two different levels. One is racism, and two is feminism. Okay, because the whole Caitlyn thing doing it, and then I can't remember the other girl's name that did it, and they made a big deal about
Angel Reese.
Angel Reese. Who, like CK says, who fucking cares? If Caitlyn did it and then Angel did it, good for them. Like seriously, that is competition. There is absolutely no reason why one should be able to do it than the other. The problem is you have a group of 5 white girls versus a group of 5 black girls. Okay, so when you have one group that does one thing and the other group does the same thing, gets called down for it or gets in trouble for it, it's a problem. And CK, those are the bigger racial issues that you're talking about. That needs to be taken care of. Because it did not matter that a black girl did the exact same thing a white girl did. It should be looked at the exact same way. Period.
Yeah.
Point blank. That's all there is to it. It's competition. Okay.
And by the way, to the victor goes the spoils, man.
Exactly.
If you win, dude, it's
she was following around the court though. She was following around the court. It was
dude, victor goes the spoils, bro.
But then Jill Biden not only puts it on a racial level, she puts it on a sexual level because not only does she invite,
I know we just heard guys do this all the time
to the White House, like we said, that lost, but you would never do that to a male team. Did you invite the Philadelphia Eagles to the Super Bowl to the White House after they lost the Super Bowl? No. So now you're dealing with a racial and a sexual problem with her doing this. She's a fucking moron. That's why she's married to Joe Biden.
I'm recommend
telling you, dude,
this book.
She is a moron on so many levels. It's insane. I cannot wait to see what the outcome of this is.
Just got done with this fantastic book. It's called Coddling of the American Mind. It's written by 2 educational psychologists, and they're liberal. They're being critical of liberals going too far.
Right.
But one of the things that they made, and this is just what my point was with a lot of other things, I think it comes here is this, and this is what the who cares argument goes to, is that this, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, we're making this to be the biggest thing in the world, like a referendum on race and gender and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, this is like, it's like we take things that maybe even are small slights, that maybe even have, but it's not the fucking end of the world. So what I think is this, is I don't really care what happened, is that she was following her around. She made it a thing. It was like, so who cares? I don't even give a fuck. I've never even watched girls basketball ever. But we think that this is like all of a sudden this like insight into all of society. And you know what? Maybe it's just fucking people being dicks. Like, what if you just look at my podcast? So don't overdo it, folks. Is like, whatever.
It doesn't matter. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, Angel Reese, they were winning the tournament. Caitlin Clark, and they, I didn't watch the South Carolina game, but apparently there was some disrespect, and that's where Angel Reese was coming from. Was
shit she wanted to,
right? And so, at the end of the day, it's so pointless. At the end of the, I really,
it's not on my radar, dude.
It's
not
so
on my radar.
The amount of people that were so angry about it did come across very, 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 very concerning. With the fact that I think that is
on both sides, right? For the people that are calling someone classless, and like this person is the worst piece of shit to the person who says this.
Dave Portnoy and Keith Olbermann all came out calling her a classless piece of shit. And of course,
But
that
they didn't
got
say that
everybody
shit.
all inflamed.
But the thing is I think this is probably one of the rare occurrences, especially in a major situation, where race is a part of this.
Yes,
Don
I agree.
Imus. Do you
Race
remember
is a
Don
big part of
Imus
this. Yes,
did
I agree.
this?
Yeah.
I would say Don Imus called the girls. The last time this happened was actually in a girls' national championship, and Don Imus, he called him a bunch of nappy headed. He called him
well,
it was just it was like this. It's like, oh my goodness. Anyway, I don't really don't make a whatever.
No, I think it all boils down to, like I said, what CK was saying. There are so many racial issues and so many issues that come up that mean nothing, that take away from a bigger part. This is an actual racial issue that where we saw one person do one thing, then the next person do the exact same thing, and they were judged differently. So this is one of those issues that I think is you make a big deal about this, even though, like I said, I don't care about her talking shit. I think she should. You should be able to. But the fact of what happened is, like, the way things broke down, that is the bigger racial issue that I think we need to tackle.
She came out on she came out on the podium. It's just like it's overdoing. Is you know what? Just it's trash talk. Whether it's just trash talk and this and that. Is personally, I think her following around it was like over the top a little, but who gives a fuck?
I agree. But
I don't really care.
Right. And we can move on beyond that. But I'll say this much. I don't think it's a racial thing from the part of, I believe it is racial, but I believe the truth of the matter is if the positions were flip-flopped,
right,
the other races would have been just as equally inflamed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They would have been like,
this isn't a matter of whites hate the black girl for doing this to the white girl, right? That's not what this is about.
we have animosity against each other,
right? It's that's one of our people you've done that to. We're gonna, that's messed up, right?
Tribalism.
Tribalism is 100% what this is, and I think that's it, and that's the exact same reason why you see a lot of the people who are like really praising Angel Reese. They're like, oh, she should go into the Hall of Fame for the colleges and stuff like that. Like, if she had done that to another black girl, they wouldn't have said that. Like,
don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Right. It is clearly racial on all fronts, but it's pointless. It's such a pointless situation.
Probably the biggest thing that's happened for girls basketball ever, though.
Hey, how about this? This was the most talked about women's Final Four that I can remember.
Right.
Ever.
Dude, I barely
Dude,
I just now found out that UConn won the men's national.
No, dude.
I don't watch any college basketball. Yeah, I watched. I didn't watch. I'm not a
basketball
college basketball
fan
either.
But hey, we're going on 4 hours, boys.
Let's get the hell out of here. I got to work.
Yeah. All right. Until C3 Panther Nation running over 100 strong. Damn near almost 4 hours into this.
They want us, bro. Let's stay up all night, 24-hour stream.
Nah, you'll do it by your damn self. We love you guys. Until next time, C3 Panther Nation, keep pounding.
Keep pounding.